This video contains subject matter that may be offensive and disturbing to some people. If you are the type to require a warning throughout a video or show, let this message serve as your warning. This channel discusses the harsh reality of true crime. If this warning is not sufficient for you, consider a different genre and unsubscribe from my channel immediately. All of a sudden I got a cough just before coming on. Darn it. I inhaled some, what did I eat? I inhaled something. Can't remember what it was. I just realized you're supposed to actually swallow food instead of breathe it in. It's weird. Somebody should have told me that when I was younger. Yeah, we got some weird cases out there. Or weird stuff going on. I did my live, I did a live Facebook, a Facebook Live, I guess, in one of these groups, Delphi groups. There's so many people in there that were saying, well, that's just your opinion, Gray. I mean, nobody knows for sure about specific things. And no, that's not true. People actually do know facts. There are things that are actually known to be true, and they're not just like an opinion about something. Okay, I know exactly where all the spots are on the bridge, where the crime scene was, everything like that. Okay, those are all known things, but what's sad is there's still people out there that don't know those things, and yet they say they followed the case for since the beginning. So how does that happen? You know, they just get mired in these little Facebook groups where they're just trapped in sort of a vortex of no knowledge. It's really weird. Very strange. And thank you, Jessica Schubach, Sarita, Michelle Niklaus, Rita Schaefer, for the pre-show super chats. All right. Yeah, we're getting kind of on the home stretch for the end of the month. We got a week left after this, but the last day is really just our final donation night, push night. And we're trying to set our record this month for, I want to do $3,000. Now, I'm sure they did have a post about me. Oh, that Gray guy, he's so mean. He doesn't let this guy in. Yeah. You know what they never do is put down the comment, share the comment that they made. You know, that's what's always weird. Like somebody comes into the group onto my show and says, Great, now what do you think about it being, one of the sheriffs in town? I go, God, that's ludicrous. And then he goes, F you, Gray, you're so mean. And I go, you're out of here, boom. And then when they go back to their group, what they'll say is something like, You should have seen Gray. I asked a simple question and he booted me. Well, what you didn't say was all of the other crap that you said prior. Never works out that way. Listen, I have never kicked somebody out for asking a dumb question. It's never happened. What's happened is their response to me saying it's a dumb question is what ends up having them get angry, and then they get kicked out. All right? When they start bashing and trashing me, then they're gone. So that's just how it works. So every time you hear somebody say that, ask, well, give me the screenshots of of the questioning. And I guarantee it, they won't have it. And plus, they'll say, I said, Gray, what are your thoughts on the case? And he just kicked me out. He's so mean. Yeah, it never happened like that. Okay?
Well, Gray, you are really mean.
Yeah, whatever, Mary Lou, whatever. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Oh, by the way, I got a hold of the that Wyoming headless woman case. I called the funeral home, and there was an older guy on the phone, and I asked him about it, and he goes, "Yeah, well, what about it?" Yeah, I said, "Well," he goes, "Are you talking about the headless woman one?" I go, "Yeah, yeah." He goes, "Oh yeah, yeah." And I go, "Well, yeah, we'd like to." It might be something where we'd have to exhume her body and get some DNA. And he goes, well, why would you need to do that? And I go, I don't know. But he ended up saying, well, we identified her. And I go, well, when? It wasn't in any of the newspapers. And he goes, yeah, it probably wasn't. But she was somebody that lives in Kansas or something. He just went on this whole thing. So I don't know what, I'd like to know, who that was and what happened was there ever an investigation after that? Anyways, so I guess we don't need to do that one. Apparently she was identified. Yeah. And the coroner didn't even know that, so I guess that's good, right? I mean, they've already done what we were going to try to do. I mean, they didn't do DNA. I don't know how they would have identified her, though. That's the weird part. Hey, thank you, Jennifer Cochran Fent. A cat eye. Do we have the Streamlabs? Let me get that, dude. Maybe I got that in on time. I'm not sure. Not sure if that was on. Oh, see?
Gray, keep up the good work.
Will do. I am in contact with, do you guys ever remember, I occasionally email I think it's a detective, or let me tell you who he is, hold on. He is, actually I don't know exactly what, he was one of the investigators in the case of Danny Miles. And remember, that was the case where there was a kid that was murdered and his body was found on Nebraska and Hughes Street. And I live on Nebraska, and my last name is Hughes, so I always thought that was kind of weird. But yeah, he lived on, that's where they found his body, and they lost some of the stuff in a flood or something. I keep asking every once in a while, like, what's going on with, because they're testing it for DNA, and he said the lab is still working on it. So maybe we'll revisit that one sometime in the future. Not a lot of information on it, but I've talked to his sister before. She's always been kind of frustrated about it. All right, so do you guys hear about this one? I see you in here all the time, Jennifer. Cochran Fent. Since now there's a few. There's Jen H. There's Jennifer Rochelle. We got Jennifer Cochran Fent. I think there's a couple more. But I see you all the time. I don't know which one you're talking about, Brittany. No idea. Let me see if I can remember. It was one night I talked about. Let me type in Miles. Yeah, there he is. It was in Carruthers, California, back in 1979, and he was just brutally assaulted. And he was found right here somewhere, right around in this area, like probably in the, you know, in the where the, I don't know if those are strawberry bushes or what that is, but somewhere out here, just out in the middle of absolute nowhere, really. I mean, if you pan out, look at that, just near Carruthers, but farmland, kind of outside of Fresno, I guess. There's Fresno, Carruthers, California. Yeah, let me see if I can just, it was a really short, let me see if I can find this. Oh, there it is, okay. Yeah. So basically, that was this one right here. Danny Miles, this guy. He was born on September 30th, 1962. He was the youngest of 3 children. Danny wanted to move away to Kansas one day, but sadly that day would never come. 17-year-old Danny was last seen on Sunday, June 3rd, 1979, between 10 and 11. The next day he was found brutally slain after having been beaten, sexually assaulted, and then shot in the head with a small caliber weapon. He tried to fight off his attacker to no avail. His body was recovered from a grape vineyard. He was laid to rest on his older brother's birthday and was beaten so badly his funeral had to be closed casket on. Danny had fought with his killer so fiercely there was plenty of DNA left behind. In 2004, Marita got in touch with cold case detectives. The detectives said there was a possible suspect and that they were going to do DNA testing. That is all Marita knows as of today. But apparently I talked to the detective and he told me, well, let's see, let me go back in time here. If you guys are you guys interested in this, or I can go back to some of the earlier email. Let me see. It's okay. He said, this is what he told me. He said, we do not have DNA. I requested some items of evidence to be tested for DNA. The request was placed on hold because of the private lab was closed due to COVID-19. This is back last year in May. That's so weird that COVID's been around that long now. Yes, what DNA, such as body fluids back in 1977, was lost, unfortunately, while transitioning from building to building. I hunted for it, but was advised it was lost. I am hoping by testing some clothing items, a DNA profile will be produced. I mean, isn't that sad? I bet you it's out there somewhere. Somebody just needs to look every single place through everywhere, and you might come across it. That's what I think. What does that mean? Look it, Lori. That's only really used anymore unless I'm saying look it, or you need me to see something. All right. Yeah, so that's pretty, ominous. I mean, like shitty that they can't, they don't have the samples anymore. He says, I'm still waiting for the results. That was back in December. And then just recently, the lab is still working on it. Okay, so this article here that I was just reading isn't really accurate. Like they don't have DNA at the time. Suspect, and they were going to do a DNA testing. It's interesting that in 2004 they said that. They lost it after that. Marita has fought over 40 years for justice for Danny. She continues to seek answers in the case and won't stop until she knows the name of his killer. You know, I'm hoping, though, with the new ability to test things like with the FBI, that they can find a really, a good sample off that clothing. So apparently they still have the clothing, but he had probably blood on him from the suspect. He probably had skin under his nails. I mean, he fought for his life. It's just such a brutal story, you know. It's horrible. And there he is right there. Some sick bastard out there did that. That wasn't even anything that I was going to talk about, but I thought might be interesting right then. Alright. So today, I don't know if you guys saw this, it was a really weird story of this lady that was Florida woman missing for weeks, found naked in a storm drain. Like, what in the hell? A South Florida woman is recovering in the hospital after she was found naked and stuck in a storm drain. This was by far one of the most bizarre incidents that our officers have responded to, said Delray Beach Police spokesman Ted White. Images show Delray Beach police and firefighters surrounding a storm drain near the intersection of Atlanta Boulevard and Southwest 11th. Let's see. No, there it is. I think I found the actual drain too. I think it's that one. So if you're coming in on it. This is in, let's see. What the hell is this? That's in Florida. Man, that must have been freaky down in there. In Florida? Shit, there's alligators, all kinds of stuff going on in those areas. So, believe it or not, I mean, somebody came by and heard somebody yelling from down inside of that. But they didn't get in there. It took a lot of effort to get this grate off of there. So she didn't make it into there through that grate right there. I almost wonder if somebody threw in there thinking she was dead and she came back to life. I wouldn't be shocked at all if that's what happened. Like somebody found a drain, threw her in, and then she found her way out because she didn't die. A passerby heard something coming from the storm drain, said Danny Michella of Delray Beach Fire and Rescue. When first responders arrived, they discovered a woman trapped 8 feet below the road. They did, in fact, to their surprise, find a woman stuck in that storm drain. Delray Beach Fire's Special Operations Team was able to remove the storm grate, lower down a ladder, and hoist the woman up. She was unable to stand up. And like you can see her legs right there, and if you move that over to the side, you can tell, you can see that right there, and this, and that. I mean, everything's the same. Authorities aren't sure how the woman got in the storm drain or how long she was down there. It appears she may have been in that storm drain for at least a couple of days, perhaps longer. The woman was taken to Delray Medical Center to be treated for her injuries. While police said there are still many unanswered questions, they are just fortunate a woman found in an area no place any human should be was found alive. To think of a person down there for any amount of time is terrifying. Delray Beach Police believe the woman may have disappeared on March 3rd, but don't suspect foul play. Yeah. I don't know how you can say anything like that quick, you know, unless she has already said, I don't know, I got lost and I fell into it. You know, I don't know how you can just say that at this point. From the police department standpoint, we don't believe there was any type of crime committed. So they maybe she told him something. I just can't, it's hard to picture why she'd be naked down in there. It doesn't feel like she was taken against her will. It appears this was done on her own free will. She climbed into the van. Now I'd like to get the answers on that one. That's a weird one. And there's a story on it. It's by, hold on.
Home, a South Florida woman is
WPLG Local 10. All right.
Home, a South Florida woman is recovering in the hospital after she was found naked and stuck in a storm drain.
Turns out she was reported missing nearly 3 weeks ago from a different county. Local 10's Roy Ramos has the latest now from Delray Beach.
We have reported on a number of stories involving animals being trapped in storm drains, small ducklings, kittens, even puppies. But a human, well, that was a first not just for us, but for first responders as well.
This was by far one of the most bizarre
so she came in through that
our
hole
officers have responded to.
These
See, that means she came in through this and got up in there and was yelling, or I guess she could have even came through whatever, that side. But how crazy is that? Man.
By far one of the most bizarre incidents that our officers have responded to.
These images showing Delray Beach police and firefighters surrounding a storm drain near the intersection of Atlantic Avenue and Southwest 11th Avenue early Tuesday after a person heard what sounded like a woman's voice down below.
A passerby heard something coming from the storm drain. She heard a woman yelling.
When first responders arrived, they discovered a woman trapped 8 feet below the roadway.
They did, in fact, to their surprise, find a woman stuck in that storm drain.
Delray Beach Fire's special operations team able to remove the storm grate, lower down a ladder, and then hoist the woman up.
She was unable to stand up. She didn't have any clothes on. She was very dirty. She had some superficial wounds. Her knees were all scraped up.
If you look at this storm drain, you'll notice that a person would have to be relatively small to fit down in here. And removing this grate is no easy task.
What do you mean relatively? This guy's an idiot. I mean, look at, what do you mean relatively small? You can't fit in there as a human being unless you're like a 1-year-old. Well, he's not an idiot, but that's not a term that I would use, right? Look at that. Come on. There's no way in hell.
Easy task. That's why police don't believe she entered here, but rather somewhere else. Question is where and exactly how long was she down there?
And it appeared in that storm drain for at least a couple of days, perhaps longer.
That woman was taken to Delray Beach Medical Center.
So she was probably like traveling around down there. That's crazy. Now I want to know where she went in and how. I mean, look at that. You can't crawl into that, okay?
Be treated for her injuries and to check on her health. While police say there are still many unanswered questions, they are just fortunate a woman found in that area, no place any human should be, was found and found alive.
To think of a person down there for any amount of time, it's terrifying.
As we come back out from that storm drain, it is investigators with Delray Beach Police now working to find out if the woman who was found here was the same woman that disappeared in early March and was reported missing on March 3rd. As soon as we gather more details on that, we will be sure to let you know. For now, here in Delray.
Man, it's gonna be like an X-Files episode or something. That's some wow. That's crazy. Yeah. All right. So the next one was one of the cases that I didn't do last night. It's not really going to be that long, but it was an interesting one. And this one's a case that's a cold case that's still not solved from March 3rd, 1981. And it's the case of Joseph and Betty Selby. Alright, so it's pretty weird. It's a weird one, though. A husband and wife died last night as flames destroyed their one-story wooden home in the rural West Friendship area of Howard County. The victims were identified as Joseph Selby Jr., 55, superintendent of the Enchanted Forest Amusement Park off of US 40 near Ellicott City, and his wife, Betty Selby, 51. Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to... I know that I found the spot, but it looks like it's not in the right folder. Well, we'll figure it out. So this is in... Maryland. Oh, there it is. Let me move this into... Just did it again. Same damn thing. Alright, there we go. So the home is right there behind these trees. Officials today had not determined the cause of the blaze which destroyed the home in the 12,100 block of Frederick Road. Which is also shown on maps as Old National Pike and State Route 144. The house was a short distance west of Sand Hill Road. We haven't ruled out anything yet, said Dale Hill, an investigator for the State Fire Marshal's office. The fire was spotted by a passing motorist who alerted Frank E. Saunders, who lives across the street from the Selby home and is chief of the West Friendship Volunteer Fire Department. When firefighters arrived minutes later, the Selby home was in flames. The blaze was declared under control at 11:19. The couple apparently died of smoke. Let's see. I'm first going to say inhalation. Mr. Hill said, Mr. Selby had been superintendent of Enchanted Forest at an amusement park with a nursery rhyme theme oriented towards young children since it opened. We have one of those here, actually. Same exact name, everything. The park is closed for the winter. Last October, Mr. Selby was charged by the owner of a reptile exhibit, then located at Enchanted Forest, with poisoning a baboon, but was acquitted the following month after the Howard County... These are just crazy stories, right? County State Attorney's Office found insufficient evidence to substantiate that. The animal exhibit since has moved to Frederick County. Another fire early today destroyed a church. Jeez. Another fire early today destroyed a church in West Baltimore row house. There was a whole bunch of fires going on at the time too. All right, so there's that one. Thanks, Kit Kat. Howard condominium burns, 30 are homeless. So there's another one. Sometime after 7 p.m. Saturday, smoke began filling up a third-floor condominium that 18-year-old Ramona Boyd and her parents were renting in Columbia. At the time, Miss Boyd was... listen how weird this is. At the time, Miss Boyd was on her way out with a friend to Mickey Kane 21 of... forget it. Hold on a second. I'll read it again. Dun, 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 dun. So there was a fire at Ramona Boyd's condominium. At the time, Miss Boyd was on her way out with a friend, Mickey Kane 21 of Merrittsville. They were going to the Witzk Funeral Establishment in Ellicott City for a viewing of Betty and Joseph Selby, who were also killed in a fire. I mean, that's just so crazy, you know? Like, what are the odds of that? They didn't really think anything of it, said Mrs. Boyd yesterday. They just thought it was something smoking in the house. Okay, but that's just about that fire. And let's see, on the 10th, rewards posted in Howard County arson. Now they know that it was a intentionally set fire at this point. Yeah, it was 300 and lots of fires going on in this town. Fire officials worried by rise in arson, so they keep talking about it. Hold on. Some of these PDF files don't open very fast. Yep, more. And now this is one just related to the case again. Reward totaling $30,000 have been offered for information leading to the arrest and conviction of any persons responsible for a blaze last March that killed a West Friendship couple and which investigators say was intentionally set. Relatives and business associates of the deceased Joseph and Betty Selby last week announced a $20,000 reward. The brother of Joseph Selby, Bradley W. Selby, in Enchanted Forest Enterprise, where John Selby worked for 26 years, offered $15,000 of the reward. The remaining $5,000 was raised by Joseph Selby's two sons. The couple was killed when their home at 12102 Frederick Road was set on fire March 6th. Investigators said a fire had been set in front of the house and that Selby's were found in a bedroom and pronounced dead after their bodies were removed to the yard. Yeah, okay, so got that. I'm just showing all the different times it was mentioned. And then 1982, about 5 months later, three fire-related Howard deaths linked to arson. So there was, three different fires in that county, and they were all from arson. And then 1986, two men re-indicted in Ocean City restaurant arson. I think they were mentioned in here in this article. I'm just kind of zipping through this one, but it's mentioned in this article that maybe they're going to check to see if they had anything to do with Joseph and Betty Selby. And then I actually have this video that was in an article. The link's in the description. There, what I'll do is let me make sure. Might take a second. Yeah. Okay. That's the house right there.
It is an unsolved arson murder in Howard County.
The couple, married almost 40 years, raised 3 children here, played with grandchildren here, and died
Thanks,
here.
Maria Mazzaroni.
Watch carefully now. Anything you remember can help.
On March 6, 1981, Joe and Betty Selby died in their home when it was set on fire. 40 years later, the case remains unsolved. Hey, you use that one
This was
music.
his pride and joy. I mean, this was like his first life, you know.
That's the
When he
Enchanted
was working,
Forest.
It was just, it was a family thing too. We had kids that would come from high school, 15, 16-year-old. They would have a job.
My father probably raised 50.
Yeah, let me get it to the interview. Okay.
All of his employees loved him. He was good to everybody. He was fair. Never had any complaints. It was run like clockwork. And I believe he had a lot to do with that.
Every little flower had to be in place. I mean, he was just so meticulous and so on board as to making sure that he could stand there and say, I gave 500% to this place. And he did. He did. He did.
Back in March 6th of 1981, right here at this restaurant and this bar, Joseph and Betty Selby had stopped by here.
Still there.
They came by here to have a drink, a little happy hour after a hard weeks of work, and met some friends. At some point while they were in the bar, they decided they were going to go home. They lived further up the road right here on 144, and they were going to go home and just rest and relax a little bit and then come back. There was a bluegrass band that played here on Friday nights that they really enjoyed, and they were going to come back and see that band. They had met friends here that they discussed their plans with, and that was their intentions that night. Unfortunately, on the night of March 6th of 1981, Joseph and Betty Selby, they never made it back to this restaurant.
I went up to the house, which was just that gone, and the fire marshal came out.
Wow, thank you, Mag. Come on, just don't do it when I'm not expecting it. 3, 2, 1. No? 3, 2, 1. Almost. Thank you.
I may not always be in chat, but always supporting Gray and all the freaks, _basic generous, _basic generous, _basic generous, _basic generous.
Hey, look at that. It started putting the words of what we call it. It's the generous freak heart. I didn't know it started doing that. That's awesome. I should have had it say it went freak, 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 like that.
And I asked a stupid question. I said, was anybody inside? He said, 2 elderly people. I was just about collapsed. They're weak on my knees.
They came home, they were sleeping in their beds. Somebody went inside at their house and set the house on fire.
See, one thing that was weird that he said, what was weird about what he just said right there? Well, earlier he said that they went home and they were to come back and watch a bluegrass band. But then all of a sudden they were found asleep in their bed. Well, maybe they changed their mind, right? But I don't know. It seemed like they were pretty excited to get back for that. So did they really fall asleep in their bed, or did something else happen?
I was not even 6 years old when this happened, and I was supposed to be there that night when the tragedy happened. And I still remember a lot of things. I mean, there's things in your mind that you'll never erase, like smells of fire, and I'll never forget that.
Joe and I just held on to each other and broke down. Why? I don't see any reason why any of this should have happened. You know, it's still a mystery.
Older restaurant was known as Otis's Hideaway. And back in November of 1976, the Howard County Police Department got a phone call about a fight that had broken out right here in this parking lot.
where an individual was stabbed. And we do know that one of those individuals that was involved in that fight is a family member of Joseph and Betty Selby.
They weren't after me, they weren't after you. They were after that other Jay Selby. We're pretty much convinced.
The information that we had received from 2 independent witnesses was that because of the fight in 1976 at Otis's Hideaway, there was an individual looking for Johnny Selby Jr., which ended up being
somebody's looking for Johnny Selby Jr.
being the nephew of Joseph and Betty Selby.
The mailbox says Jay Selby. Right. 1 mile down the road, another box says Jay Selby. Different one, different family. It's one of our theories that he's the wrong Jay Selby.
That kind of makes sense.
As you can see, the top of the mailbox says J.N. Selby Jr. This mailbox does not stand for John Selby Jr. It actually
well, it wasn't a family member though, Zozo. So you got that one wrong.
Stands for Joseph Nicholas Selby Jr., which was Joe.
See, the family member got in a fight at a bar, and his name was John, I think it was, right? So then later, somebody was going after revenge, and they think, this detective thinks they even know who the killer is, and that they mistakenly went to the other Jay Selby's house because they had no enemies or anything.
Selby's full name. We do believe that this fire was started and was committed, and it is a mistaken identity. They did choose the wrong house. The other house of John Selby Jr. is further out west down here on Frederick Road.
Crazy, huh?
About the case myself, you know, having a relationship with the family and seeing that 40 years later that it still affects Joe and Betty Selby's sons. It still affects their grandson. It still affects them to this day. You're talking about 2 people that were hard workers. They didn't have any enemies. Joe and Betty worked hard at the Enchanted Forest, a pillar in the community here in Ellicott City.
Somebody knew something.
Everybody knew something.
They weren't going to say, they weren't going to speak up.
I think we always did feel that there were people out there, but they were afraid to come forward for their own lives.
Somebody needs to come forward and have the courage to finally, after all these years, give some closure to this family. Have the courage to come forward and tell this family what happened to their parents, and the parents that didn't get a chance to see their children become successful, and that didn't get a chance to see their grandchildren grow to become successful in themselves. That's the hardest part.
Yeah. So that's about it. Hey, look at that, Richard. I understood exactly what you said. Wrong home. Wow, man, that's amazing. I understood it. Yeah, crazy. You know. I just, oh God, I don't even know what you say about some stupid case like that, where somebody gets killed, and there isn't even any bad blood really between. Well, I mean, I guess they're relative, but it's just. The guy was just driving down the road, found the first Jay Selby he could find, and burnt the house down. When the one he really wanted to go to, it really just. All that mattered was who lived first on that guy's drive. Right? He probably just knew, oh yeah, he probably heard from somebody that the Selbys live on the road. So he started driving and found the first one and then set that house on fire. And it was that house right there. Wonder what it says on there now. See, 2102. Yeah, so that was this is where that, let's see, where was that? Right here was where the, that bar fight was. There goes my stomach. That's where the bar fight was. It's also on that same road. And then this is where their home is. And this is where they had a drink at this now closed bar, and they were going to come back and a little bit later. But that's the same building that was in the show right there. You'd think somebody would just sort of buy that for $100 and see if you can turn it into a bar again. Just got bricks, you know, like it's kind of a cool building. Other than that. But anyways, crazy times. I'm just reading the comments. All right, so now we're going to get on to this other cold case that is part of it was solved. And so I went back and I found the references to it back in the day. This is in Wilmington, Delaware, back in 1977. A badly decomposed body was found in a ditch along a rural road near here last night. The body, that of an adult, was spotted by a passing motorist off Union Church Road about 4 miles south of Odessa and a mile east of US 13 at 8:30 according to Newcastle County Police. Let's see if that's easy. Passing motorist off Union Church Road. This is in Maryland, right? Not Delaware. Union Church Road, 4 miles south of Odessa. Okay, there we go. So that's Odessa. Okay. And then it's a mile southeast of US 13. There's 13. 4 miles south of Odessa and a mile southeast of US 13. Yeah, so it's probably just right around in this area somewhere. All right, the state medical examiner's office was trying to identify the body today, and detectives were looking for clues in the area where the body was discovered. Police asking help to identify dead woman. Newcastle County Police are seeking the public's help in identifying the body of a young woman found along a rural road Monday night. The nude body bore no identification or jewelry, police said. A teenage boy walking along Union Church Road, south of Odessa, found the decomposed body at about dusk, lying in a drainage ditch. So obviously, you know, whoever did this is a serial killer type person, okay? That's who dump nude bodies in ditches. The nude body bore no identification or jewelry, police said. A teenage boy walking along Union Church Road, south of Odessa, found the decomposed body. Man, that must have freaked that person out. The state medical examiner said the woman had been dead at least a few weeks. She was white, in her early 20s, 5'3", with dark blonde hair, Cause of death has not been determined. Anyone with information is asked to call county police. Information will be held in confidence if requested. Autopsy shows body found was that of woman in her 40s. An autopsy yesterday on the remains of a woman found in a ditch south of Odessa Monday night has significantly changed a description released earlier in the week. The still unidentified body, officials now say, was that of a white woman with short blonde hair between the ages of 40 and 55. More than a third of the woman's teeth were missing. So, I mean, did she lose those naturally? The body was found along Union Church Road. No cause of death has been determined. The state medical examiner's office has determined that the woman probably died sometime in March or April or May. That's a pretty long, wide gap you put in there. A dentist had extracted 12 of the woman's teeth, including one of the front. No dentures were found. She was about 5 foot 3 inches tall and weighed between 95 and 105 pounds. Police have not been able to link the body to anyone described in current missing persons reports. And then this is now.
Break in the case. A little boy and his sister were told long ago that their mother just took off, and they believed that for decades.
I think the husband did this.
That is, until they got a call from police last month saying their mom's body was actually found in the 70s and was just identified. Our Chris O'Connell spoke with her son.
Two children who thought their mother had abandoned them back in the 70s find out more than 40 years later their mother was actually murdered. Now this cold case is hot once again.
We were told that, things were not good at the house, so she ended up just packing up and leaving.
Bill Heiser Jr. was in the 4th grade, 1977, when his mother vanished from their home on the 6200 block of Crafton Street in Northeast Philly. In a troubled marriage, his father told young Bill and his sister Mom had packed a suitcase and left. She was never reported missing.
Did you know anything of where your mother's whereabouts?
No, not at all.
But more than 43 years later, Heiser's children recently got the life-changing news from Newcastle County, Delaware. Their mother, 50-year-old Marie Heiser, didn't just vanish, she was killed. Her son, a former police officer and renowned police canine trainer, joined us by phone.
Hey, that just perked up Susanna. Oh my God, a renowned canine trainer. That's what her son turned out to be.
From Florida.
We never in a million years ever thought that it was foul play or that something was going to happen to her.
In June of '77, Heiser's unidentified body was found in the woods by a teenager in Townsend, Delaware. More than 7.
I wonder if that's. Let's see if it looks anything like that. Oh, they don't have no street view there. Oh, they did.
Miles from their home. 77, Heiser's unidentified.
Okay, in this case they have trees on both sides, and they just did this, so let's see. Right there, maybe? I see that little guardrail there. I don't see one in this area. Hey, thanks, Jody William. New Zealand. All right.
body was found in the woods by a teenager in Townsend, Delaware, more than 70 miles from their home. The case was cold until 2017, when Newcastle police sent Marie's DNA to Paragon Nanolabs in Virginia. The company, using a DNA profile, produced these composite pictures and a genetic analysis. Cold case investigators then tracked down leads that eventually led to the positive identification.
The thing was, they already knew exactly what, I mean, I don't know. Paragon's really accurate on eye color, skin tone, things like that. The look of the person was a little bit questionable.
Of Marie Heiser, the official manner of death, homicide. But the question now is, who killed Marie Heiser? Police here in Newcastle County say even 4 decades later, the case is active again. Police want to talk to family and friends of the Heisers and co-workers of the former Ashburn Country Club in Cheltenham, now a residential development. They would also like to talk to Heiser's husband, who claimed his wife ran away. But Heiser Sr., a former Philadelphia Police Highway Patrol officer, died.
See, he doesn't really look like that at all.
Back in 2006.
So her ex-husband, that probably did something to her, died in 2006.
Now their children are left wondering who killed their mother.
It's kind of hard right now.
Well, to me, I'm not even wondering at all. You know, unless the dad, you could say the dad knew that she left him. You know, I guess you could say, oh, she knew that he knew that she left him. So he came up with some excuse and blamed it on her for leaving. But I think it's more likely that their marriage was really troubled. I'm sure there was a lot of crap going on, and he did something to her and made up that story because he didn't think anybody was ever going to find her. And the thing is, somebody found her, but they weren't able to ever. It's just crazy. And you know what? He never reported her missing. But then he could have just said, well, she wasn't missing. She took off. You know, he had it all planned out. The perfect thing is, she left me. Okay? Because then you could say, well, I didn't report her missing because she left. And then it's an excuse for everything. It's perfect. All right, so that's that one. Hopefully, I don't know how they're ever going to get an answer, but I think that is the answer. See, that doesn't look anything like her, other than that there's blonde hair, right? Like, her face here is way more pretty than this thing here. Well, but maybe he told everybody that, Jessica. And maybe he just told, yeah, she took off, you know. So they're not wondering. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, that is weird. Yeah, you think that at some point a family member might say something. Right? Yeah, well, it doesn't even look like a human, really, Lee D. It's kind of a... All right, now we're going to do one of the missing persons that were in our missing person, you know, GHI. What is it again called? The missing person something. I can't remember. Say it again. GHI. No, the Missing Person Network. There we go. I said it myself. Yeah. Missing Person Network on Facebook. Alright, so I'm going to go back in time. This is on the FBI website. Keeslyn Noel Roberts. She was last seen on Tuesday, January 28, 2020 at the Flying J truck stop. Female, 20 at the time of the disappearance. So, That's all they put on their FBI site. Boy, so much help there. That. And then this article is from, and don't type in stuff because you guys read the post, okay? All right. Yeah. And there's the link right there. If it'll take you out of here, and then you'll have to come back. So I would just find it on Facebook. It's a little easier. Okay, let's see. The reward for information leading to the safe return of a Georgia trucker's 20-year-old daughter has grown to $6,000. Interesting. Last month, Transportation Nation Network, they reported on a story. I've got that link too. Keeslyn's father, Eric Roberts of Dalton, Georgia, and owner of Eric Roberts Trucking, so she was familiar with truck stops, I guess, offered a $2,000 reward in the days following. Roberts continued to maintain that someone somewhere must know where Keeslyn is, and she is still alive. Investigators have questioned multiple known associates of Keeslyn, including her boyfriend, whom she was living with in the weeks leading up to her disappearance, and the man she told witnesses of Flying J she was there to see moments before she went missing. However, so far, so there was a man, and the man she told witnesses at Flying J she was there to see. Yeah, because I think she went busting back into the kitchen. However, so far, no one suspected of possibly being involved in Keeslyn's disappearance or having direct knowledge about the case is talking. They are not willing to talk, Roberts recently said. I just think she is in a bad predicament. And then it grew to $6,000. In recent days, the reward for information leading to Keeslyn's safe return has grown to $6,000 as family members and friends have pledged to help. Truckers are also getting involved in helping out as well as reading TNN's reports about the case. Let's see. Since that time, close to 500,000 people have read it and is now approaching 100,000 shares from TNN's social media platform. Oh, it sounds like they're more pumping themselves. Let's see. Roberts says he's grateful for those in the trucking community who are on the lookout for Keeslyn, but asked to please call local authorities if you believe you see her. Yeah, you know about as much as everybody else knows, Zozo. About as much as everybody else. That's why I was talking to you when I said if you've seen the case, don't start talking about it, because you're one of those people that just can't control yourself. Yeah, we everybody knows as much as you do. All right, let's see. Let me get to the next part here. So the disappearance of Keeslyn Roberts. Yeah, you kind of wonder if the guy at the truck stop was somebody else that she was seeing, and then her boyfriend maybe got angry about something. Anyways, let me try to zoom in here. Keeslyn Noel Roberts was born on October 22nd, 1999 to her parents, Shannon and Eric Roberts, the pair's only child. She was better known by her nickname of Butterfly and was the center of her parents' world. The family lived in Dalton, Georgia, where Eric ran his own trucking company, Eric Roberts Trucking. Growing up, Keeslyn is described as having been a good kid with a big heart. In her later years, she would get mixed up with what her father describes as the wrong crowd who introduced her to drugs. This resulted on her sometimes ending up on the wrong side of the law. In March 2018, She was arrested and charged with 2 counts of possession of marijuana, possession of tools for commission of crime, use of communication facilities and drug transactions, and possession and use of drug-related objects. Let's see, nearly 2 years later, in January 2020, she was arrested and charged with the sale of methamphetamine. At the time of her disappearance, 2020, she was said to be living with her boyfriend in Chatsworth, Gordon County, Georgia. On January 17, 2020, Keeslyn was scheduled to attend a probation meeting with the Whitfield County Sheriff's Office in relation to her 2018 charges. She failed to attend the meeting, and thus a warrant for violation of probation was issued in her name. She was scheduled to attend a probation meeting with the Whitfield County. Okay, so that was leading up to it. She never made it there. So then there was a warrant out for arrest, and then Keeslyn was last seen on January 18, 2020 at the Flying J off I-75, and I've got that in here. Now we're on a different case. And another person actually went missing from here just 2 days prior. Same truck stop. So there's the Flying J. Let me see if you can get a road right there. Yep. There you go. Alright, so Keeslyn was last seen on January 18th, 2020 at the Flying J off I-75 at 288 Resaca Beach Boulevard in Resaca, Murray County, Georgia. According to a press release issued by the Gordon County Sheriff's Office, officers responded to a 911 call that day in regards to a suspicious female, presumed to be Keeslyn, at the truck stop. It is reported that she had entered an employee-only kitchen area where she had an altercation with an employee. You know, maybe that was about drugs. And it was an employee that was attached to the Denny's restaurant there. She hastily left before officers arrived, but had left behind her backpack, which an employee handed over to the police. Kind of weird that she would just leave her backpack there. Inside were her wallet, debit card, ID, some cash, and her phone charger. There are some outlets that have stated she told witnesses that she was at the truck stop because she had arranged a meeting with an unnamed male. However, this has not been elaborated on. Right, well, it was mentioned before. On January 20, 2020, her family was searching for her when they came upon her white Toyota Corolla parked in the far corner of the back parking lot of the Flying J. They found the majority of her belongings still inside, including her purse, but could find no sign of her in the area. While Keeslyn was officially reported missing with the Murray County Sheriff's Office that day, investigators would not be made aware of the vehicle discovery until a few days later. They also found some of her clothing around, like in a dumpster or something like that, if I remember correctly. So the search, initially the case was handled jointly. Let me see. Investigators would not be made aware of the vehicle discovery until a few days later on January 29th. So the family found it. So far back, probably way back over here somewhere. Either there or over there, but it's kind of an odd place to park, right? Initially, the case was handled jointly by both Murray and Gordy County Sheriff's Office. As of October 2020, it has since been taken over by Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Oh, great. The GBI, man, they're awesome. There was initially a rumor that Keeslyn had simply been staying with her boyfriend, as she was known to be living with him at the time. However, when spoken to by Eric, he revealed that he hadn't seen his girlfriend in a few days. Any phone calls to Keeslyn's cell phone go straight to voicemail. It's believed she has her phone in her possession, as it was not in her car nor her backpack, but that it is either off or has ran out of battery. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if she has it in her possession. It just seems like maybe she had it in her hand, and I wouldn't. If none of the other stuff is with her, the phone just might be like something she had in her hand, and she left all of her other belongings. That's kind of weird. And the backpack, like what the hell was in the backpack that she left in the restaurant area there? Okay, 2 days before Keeslyn's disappearance on January 18th, another young person went missing from the same truck stop. 21-year-old Caleb Nathaniel Smith. Thanks, Ozo. After a few weeks of searching, Caleb's body was located in a marshy and wooded area in the northwestern part of Gordon County near Sugar Valley. An autopsy revealed there were no indications of foul play, with the official cause of death being classified as an overdose. Right. Yeah. That's what this is GBI for you, right? His body was located in a marshy and wooded area in the northwestern part of... Yeah, that's where you end up going. You do drugs and you just walk out into the marsh. It's just... Stuff like that doesn't make sense to me a lot. I think it's possible he overdosed and somebody dumped him there, but that's a crime too. So I don't know. To me, it seems like a trucker or somebody there picked him up and something happened. It just seems really odd that, yep. That's right, everybody. He just died of an overdose somewhere out in the middle of a marsh. Yeah, I'd believe it more if it was in a truck. Thanks, Mary Poppins. As in, the real Mary Poppins. Original. The Mary Poppins. Wait, we have a... Who's Gina? Who are you talking about? We have a Rita Schaefer. Is there somebody else? Another one named Gina? Are they related? Hey, Gina, type in... You and Rita both type in at the same time. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Type. Say hello at the same time. Let's see. Both Rita and Gina, both at the same time. Say hello together. Nobody else say a damn thing. Let's see if it works. Hey, look at that. See? So there you go. Yeah. Well, yeah, but we don't know you, Rita. So when you say, yeah, there's other people with the name Schaefer in the world. You're not the only one, right? Just letting you know, all right? Oh, there's 3 of them in there? There's a Catherine Schaefer in here too? Oh, boy. Your entire family is here. Okay. We know, Michelle. They said that already. Did you hear me actually talking? Yeah, I know. You've all said that 5 times now. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, initially, there was the belief that the two cases could be connected, given the time frame and location in which they happened. It was later determined that Keeslyn and Caleb were not known to each other. That doesn't mean they're not related. Some believe they may have known the same people. Right, but it doesn't mean they're not related, because if it's a serial killer type driving around and they just happen to both run into them, then that's what you're gonna, then they would be related, right? Rallying around the Roberts family, the local community came together and helped launch a social media campaign to help raise awareness about the case. They also helped in organized volunteer searches. One search, which involved four-wheeler, well, that'd be pretty dumb, though, to abduct two people from the same truck stop that soon. You know, you'd be leery to go back there again. One search, which involved four-wheelers and aerial drones, spanned approximately 100 acres around the area where Caleb's body had been found, while another was in a wooded area near the Flying J. As in March 2020, some of Keeslyn's clothes were found in a fern bush behind dumpsters in the parking lot. See, that's pretty crazy, right? Let's see if we can... I don't know, let me zoom in. And the dumpsters are usually right by the, you know, like you take it out the back and then, so probably right around in this area. So why would some of her clothing be in bushes there? Is that what she had on and switched clothing? Maybe she was running away from her warrant that she had, you know, that she had out for her arrest. Something like that. Hey, thanks, Brittany. Oogla boogla freak. Yeah, I've kept the lowest tier for a while because of the, you know, until everybody's got their shots and the economy starts picking up again. It might be tough with Biden's initiatives, but you know, hopefully the economy can recover somehow. We'll all have less money in our pockets because of the increased taxes on just about everything. You know, gasoline, everything's gonna. So you know it's funny. They always say we're not gonna raise taxes. Yeah, right. Well, maybe they didn't raise taxes on your paycheck, but they raised taxes on all the other things. So you end up spending tons and tons of money, and it's actually not fair either because you know, the lower to mid-income people drive a lot more, and it makes a lot more difference when you start increasing taxes. So, yeah. Anyways, I think the clothing was found right back in there. I'm pretty sure they put a dumpster kind of over in that area behind the building. I don't think it would be way over there, because if you had stuff in the kitchen, and you'd have a hard time, you know, you wouldn't want to have to walk a quarter mile to dump some trash out or something. All right. Eric has tried to put up missing persons flyers in the truck stop, but was told he wouldn't be able to. There has also been controversy surrounding the lack of lighting and surveillance footage outside the building. In regards to this, Change.org petition was created by users going by the name of Lord Farquaad to try to implement a change. Eric is currently offering a $10,000 cash reward. Investigators have interviewed numerous people who Keeslyn was known to associate with, as well as the man she said to have been meeting at the Flying J. There have been numerous unconfirmed sightings of Keeslyn or a woman matching her description by truckers across the United States. The cities include South Bend, Indiana, Dallas, Texas, and Oklahoma City. Eric has been vocal about the case and consistently speaks to the public in order to help bring awareness. Eric has also expressed concern regarding how the public, in particular the Murray County Sheriff's Office, have handled the investigation. He claims that Detective Eric White is not doing all he can to find his daughter, stating that the Sheriff's Office has not made an effort to obtain security footage from the Flying J or checked Keeslyn's phone records. He has also shared that he's provided the detectives with the list of possible persons of interest and other information, but feels the leads are not being investigated. Yeah, that'd probably be pretty frustrating. Aftermath. In celebration of Keeslyn's 21st birthday, the family held a candlelight vigil at the 11th Avenue Baptist Church. Okay, so we got that, and this is an article from February 2nd of this year.
Homeowners, this incredible tip is just for you. If you owe
I guess this is how you report a missing person. Alright, Keeslyn Roberts was getting her life back on track, so when she didn't report to her probation officer, alarm bells went off for her father. Hey, Joshua Long! That's no problem. One of these days we're going to have to do that. Look at my, you can see through my head. We'll have to do that talent show where you can call in and sing your songs. We'll put you on Zoom.
Hey pal, I'm late as usual but I'm here.
It's been a little over a year since her car was found parked at a North Georgia truck stop. Her father, Eric Robert, questions whether state and local authorities have done enough. Keeslyn Robert was getting her life back on track, so when she didn't report to her probation officer, alarm bells went off for her father. It's been a little over a year since her car was found parked at a North Georgia truck stop, and Keeslyn Roberts' family says details of her disappearance are still shrouded in mystery. Her father, Eric Roberts, questions whether the state and local authorities have done enough. I feel like they violated my daughter's civil rights by not following through, Eric Roberts told McClatchy News. It's not right. A missing person is a missing person. Yeah, so they probably, in some ways, think of her like they do with the, hey, thanks, Rita Schaefer. They think of her like sex workers.
Chewbacca?
Criminal.
Oh, I'll be Chewbacca.
Somebody who does drugs. So they may be not treating it as like it was a 17-year-old girl walking to school and got abducted or something. Gordon County Police received a report of suspicious woman inside the small town truck stop. Officers said the woman had left by the time they arrived, but they found a purse containing Robert's personal items in a restricted area of the business. So they just found her purse sitting there. That's her Facebook. I found her wallet in there, her car keys, cash, debit card, driver's license, Eric Roberts said. So she had nothing with her. We found everything she possessed but the telephone, right? Though the family still hasn't tracked down her cell phone. There you go. Keeslyn Roberts' truck was also found at the truck stop. Eric Roberts said he spoke to his daughter's boyfriend, who said he hadn't seen her in a few days, but remembered that her car was at Flying J. Well, how did you know that? How did you remember that her car was at the Flying J? Well, that didn't make too much sense to me at the time. Well, there you go. Eric Robert recalled. Yeah, that doesn't make sense at all. Oh, yeah, that's right. Her car's over. Well, that means you were there when she put the car there. Eric Roberts said his daughter had gotten mixed up with the wrong crowd and was on probation for a marijuana charge when she went missing. You sort of wonder, it sounds like she was into dealing drugs, and you wonder if people were nervous about her saying something. Maybe she even used that at some point and was on probation for a marijuana charge when she went missing in Gordon County more than a year ago. But she was a good kid with a big heart. She had been reporting regularly to her probation officer. She would do anything for anyone, he said. I miss her so much, and it's killing me not knowing if she's safe, dead, or hiding. I mean, some of those charges she got earlier, it sounded like she had like paraphernalia or something. Thanks, Summer Casey.
That's right, Gray. You're so mean.
Yeah, but she said nice things too.
But I don't have anything nice to say, Gray.
Wow, you're mean. You're mean, Mary Lou. Keeslyn Roberts was reported missing to the Murray County Sheriff's Office before the case was kicked over.
You're always amazing and mean. Winking face. Thank you for all that you do.
Well, thank you. Before the case was kicked over to the Georgia Bureau of Investigation in November. Since then, Eric Roberts says he's hit a brick wall with no leads or updates from investigators. It seems like the GBI is dropping the ball. Man, they never do that. Dropping the ball big time since they took the case over, he said. If you're not going to take it over and work the case, then don't take the damn thing. He has since launched a GoFundMe campaign and is offering a $20,000 reward for information on his daughter's disappearance. Joe Montgomery, special agent in charge of the GBI region, one field office in Calhoun, told McClatchy News the agency has investigated every lead and every reference, but nothing has come up through the investigation, or though the investigation is ongoing. Authorities have also addressed rumors that the case is somehow linked to that of 21-year-old Caleb Smith, who went missing from a Flying J on January 16, 2020, the Flying J. Smith's body was found weeks later in a Gordon County marsh. There's no evidence that these people are or were acquainted. I mean, what's weird is you have two people that are associated with drugs that disappear from the same truck stop, and one wasn't supposed to ever be found, and the other one hasn't been found. Doesn't mean that something totally different happened. Maybe she's alive, and there's no evidence that these people are or were acquainted. Gordon County Sheriff Mitch Ralston said in a news release, the investigation into these matters are ongoing, and any new pertinent information will be released to the public in a timely fashion. Keeslyn Roberts is described as 5'6", 120 pounds, with blue eyes and blonde hair. She also has a tattoo of a sea turtle on her lower right arm, authorities said. Anyone with information on the case is to call 706-624-1424. This is the GBI site. Well, there's something on there. Missing persons. See what they say. There she is. Nothing. That's on the GBI website. Alright, so here's the Charlie Project page. Bunch of different photos from her Facebook page. Let's see what they have. They have a pretty good write-up down there. Roberts was last seen at the Flying J truck stop in the 200 block of Resaca Beach Boulevard in Resaca, Georgia on January 18, 2020. She went into the kitchen where customers weren't allowed and got into an argument with an employee. The argument reason, somebody has to know that, right? The staff called the police and Roberts fled the scene before they arrived. She dropped her backpack, which contained cash, and her phone charger, wallet, car keys, debit card, and driver's license. She has never been heard from again. 2 days later, one of Robert's relatives found her car in the parking lot of the truck stop. That's because her boyfriend said, "Oh yeah, well I know her car's in that parking lot," with some of her belongings inside it. Some of her clothes were found hidden in a bush by a dumpster in the back of the restaurant, but her cellular phone has never been found. So when they say hidden, could they tell it was purposely put there, or was it just chucked? A 21-year-old man named Caleb Nathaniel Smith had disappeared from the same truck stop on January 16th, 2 days prior to Robert's disappearance. On February 2nd, his body was found in a marsh in Gordon County, Georgia. Authorities could find no evidence that Smith and Roberts knew each other or that their two cases were related. Prior to her disappearance, Roberts had gotten mixed up with a bad crowd and had gotten involved with drugs. However, her father said she was getting her life back on track and regularly reported to her probation officer. This might be a good one to get the dad on, I think he would. Seems like somebody that would come on. But you think he would do it? Because he could tell us the answers for a lot of this stuff. Right? Well, if you're out there and you want to come on and tell all of the inside information, since the GBI doesn't seem to be doing anything, much like the DJ Ficky case. Fortunately, they finally made that one undetermined so they can look into it. Yeah, here's her Facebook page. Yeah, probably right here she was about to be doing well and then something happened. She has a lot of tattoos too. Right there. Tattoo on Robert's arm. So it must be like on the front and back. Yeah, I think this is right there. And yeah, so that turtle's that turtle, and that, so right there you can see part of it. So that's like a wider shot. I don't know what that means, Rita. Sorry. Sucks. Well, that's it for that. And what else we got? Well, that's all I got on that one. I'm sure there's some inside rumor mill shit, but maybe we can get the dad to come on. That'd be cool. Yeah, so it sounds a little bit like the boyfriend slipped up and mentioned something about how he knew her car was there. So I think it sounds like he might know a little bit more than what he's been saying. And was he following her because she went to go visit the other guy at the truck stop and then confronted her outside, and that's why some of her clothes is in the bush and all the other shit, but she still had her phone in her hand, and then that was taken from her after that, and maybe he did something, and you know, a lot of maybes, but that little sentence there was a little bit strange. I don't want to read that one. So. All right, cool. We'll see if we can get the dad on and at some point and check it out. Ooh, we'll have to figure out a way to get. I think I can get a hold of him. Yeah. Okay, so this is a, I don't even really know what to make of this story, but it's kind of like a cold case that was solved, but then it's also solved recently again. I don't know. Anyways, here we go. So this is the case of 1989 Susan Dahl. I can do it, Jen, I can do it! Sex-related burglary brings alert. Another sex-related burglary in Fort Collins, similar to the one that preceded Susan Dahl's still unsolved murder, has prompted police to warn residents about suspicious activity. Sergeant Gregg with the Fort Collins, this is in Colorado, Fort Collins Police Department said a home was burglarized during the Thanksgiving holiday, and during the break-in, women's panties were handled in a way similar to 2 earlier break-ins. During an August break-in, 25 pairs of panties were stolen, and 10 days later, Dahl was found dead in the house. Police suspect the man who stole the panties was the same man who killed her August 28th or 29th. With said, the latest break-in looks the same. These are all similar enough that we're investigating them all together to see if we can find a common denominator, said With. Let's see, and he heads the homicide investigation. With said the latest crime was about a mile away from the earlier crime scene. This is pretty close to Susan's house. Investigators want to question a man seen riding a bicycle to Dahl's house about the time of the burglary. So I wouldn't doubt that. I think that's a truth. The man in his late teens to early 20s had a stocky build and shoulder-length blonde hair, police said. Now that's interesting. Weird. Alright, so then in 1995, that was 89, man arrested in connection with 89 death in Fort Collins. A roofer, you guys call it roofer. I call it roofer, you say roofer. Charged with strangling 39-year-old in her home. A Grand Junction man A Grand Junction man was arrested Friday morning on suspicion of a 1989 Fort Collins murder in which a woman was raped and murdered in her home. Douglas Thames, 22, was arrested. So he was only 22 years old at the time. So if you think, look how crazy that is. I mean, that's, he's going to be like 16 years old at the time. And then when they talk about riding a bike, that makes a hell of a lot more sense now, doesn't it? Douglas Thames, 22, was arrested at the 600 block of West Colorado. Yeah. So he was arrested right here on this street right here, but he lived right here. In this, like a manufactured home right there. This is where he lived with a roommate. So it was the 600 block was where he was arrested, where he was working as a roofer and charged in the strangulation death of Susan Dahl. It is unclear how long Thames had been living in Grand Junction, but court records show that he was charged with burglary in Mesa County in 1991. The home address he gave police was 545 Normandy Way, where he had been living for a couple of weeks with Tennell Wolf, a friend of 3 or 4 years. He's a nice guy, Wolf told Denver television station. I don't think he could do anything like this. Dahl, who was 39 at the time of her death, had reported a burglary in her home 10 days before her murder. Nothing was found missing with the exception of several pairs of undergarments. Oh boy. Fort Collins police were unable to make an arrest because of lack of evidence. An unexpected break came last month when 13 pairs of women's underwear were found hidden in ductwork by a furnace repairman in Thames' former apartment. So where this guy used to live, they found 13 pairs of underwear hidden in the ductwork. Hey, thanks, Nashville TN. The garments were tested and bodily fluids matching those taken at the scene of Dahl's death were found. 2 weeks ago, Mesa County District Judge ordered Thames to undergo testing to see if his fluids matched those at the scene, and they did. Thames was 16 at the time of Dahl's death. He is to be returned to Fort Collins over the weekend. You can't say he's guilty, Wolf said, because I don't think he is. We'll have to wait until they go to court to find out. Well, no, he did it. Now look what I think this is the same guy. What do you guys think? It's hard to tell because he's smiling, but I mean, it's the same age. It's on Ancestry.com. He's got, his hair's, you can see that he has a high hairline. The nose has a similar shape and everything. But this is in high school. See, this is when he's 22 years old. And then this one right here, look at that. Look at how crazy this is. This is actually 1973, Doug Thames, and it says Cheyenne, Wyoming, which isn't really horrendously far away from Colorado, and they didn't know how long he'd lived in the area. So I think this is probably the same person. But look at, he's 16 years old. This is exactly what he would have looked like. So look at it's weird because I don't know what he was doing there. Was he visiting somebody? But this is his high school photograph when he was 16. And was he just visiting the area at the time? I don't know. But he has long hair, just like they were saying. Yeah, I think the nose definitely looks similar. It's a little bit crooked off to the side, both of them. But I don't know. I think it could be. I think it's him. If it's not, I'm sorry. The other Doug Thames, okay? But it looks like you have the same. It's going to be high hairline there. Your hair's shorter in that picture, but look how it's long in the back there. It's still, so that's similar. He just has sort of a receding hairline even at 22. Okay. So his friend doesn't think he had anything to do with it. All right, but that's about all I could find in the papers back then. But then this story came out. It's kind of long, so I'll just read through the whole damn thing, and we'll all just kind of learn about it together here. Sounds like this guy's one sick person, to be honest with you. panty thief who murdered woman finally found through DNA. So I'm not sure why they're saying finally found. Like, it seems like they already did, but let me see what they're referring to. I couldn't determine that. Marsha Reed became a cop in the small town of Fort Collins. This is an article in allwomen.co.za. It doesn't really say who wrote this one. Let's see. Maybe somewhere it'll say that. Marsha Reed became a cop in the small town of Fort Collins in 1983, but one case stood out in her career as the most troublesome and eventually the most satisfying. Her beat was quiet, her job for the most part routine, until one summer evening in 1989 when she walked through the door of 2219 Ramblette Drive. And that's this house. So he didn't live in that same town. It was, let's see, what town is this? Fort Collins, right? So maybe his dad, I mean, there must be a, just a military base around here, or is that just called that? Who knows? But he could have just been visiting at the time. And look, Wyoming's right there, so you're talking about, it's not even far away. Hell, he could have just, I mean, in hell, what town was it that he lived in? Hold on a second. What did I have in that last one? Okay, Cheyenne. That's got to be the same guy. Oh, yeah. Shit. Look at that. That's Cheyenne, Wyoming right there. So that's where the high school was. So now I feel really confident. It's only 40 miles. You know, who knows what he was doing there, but that definitely, you're talking 40-mile drive. You know, if he was on his bike, though, you know, maybe he's just, their family was there visiting or something. I have no idea. But it's only 40 miles, so that sort of even makes it more likely it's the same person. And then let's see this picture here, looking at that. That's a little different. But see the hair? Eyebrows are kind of, that one's a little thinner-ish, but, you know, he's older now. Nose is exactly the same. Yeah, I think that's him. 16, and then in that one he's a little bit, quite a bit older than that, I would imagine. All right. So Detective Reed recalls Fort Collins at that time was relatively a smaller town, but we've had some unique things happen in Fort Collins. I don't know why. It was Reed's third murder case in as many years. This is a detective. Detective Reed added, from the beginning, this one was different. I climbed up the stairs, and the first thing that I saw was urine and feces on a hallway area on the floor. Detective Reed continued upstairs and down a hall where she found the body of Susan Dahl lying naked on the floor. A cut telephone cord was wrapped around her neck. Her killer obviously had some control of her. It seemed to me that it was some sort of blitz attack, recalls Reed. And that's her. That's the victim, Susan Dahl, right there. Crime scene technician Ruth Hurst was called to the scene. Hurst explained it was obvious that the victim had been strangled. She had no clothing on, so the possibility that it was a sexual homicide was pretty high. Using an alternate light source, Hurst shone a light beam around the victim to illuminate any bodily fluids, making them glow. Hurst revealed we found areas that reacted on the body. We also found areas that reacted in the carpeting around the body. The light source confirmed that doll was raped. Hearst then moved to an upstairs bedroom where he found a heating grate covered with semen. What was he doing? Like holding a freaking pair of underwear up there? Hearst recalls, "You're thinking, my goodness, what in the world is going on here? You know, because it seemed like such a large quantity that we weren't really sure at first just what it was, but it turned out to be semen." Killer not concerned about covering his tracks. Hearst detected semen in 3 separate areas of the upstairs, suggesting a frenzied attack and a killer not concerned with covering his tracks. Hearst explained this person didn't, but here's the thing, back in '89, nobody was really thinking about DNA. And a killer not concerned with covering his tracks. Hearst explained, this person didn't really kind of clean up after himself. And in some ways, it was sloppily done. More professional sexual offender would probably use a condom, or they might even wash off a victim. But in this case, people didn't. No, that's not. I don't agree with that. Like in 1989 and prior, they don't think of that kind of stuff because it didn't mean anything. Now, yes, of course they would do that. I think they're sort of talking about today. But in this case, he clearly didn't. In 1989, DNA was unavailable to test any of the evidence found at the scene. Detectives Reed and Hearst instead turned their attention to fingerprints. Upstairs, they found an open window and possible point of entry for their killer. Hearst added, when I was processing the window, they popped up so quickly and so dark. It's really exciting when that happens because you know that they're going to be really good quality and they're probably related to the crime. Let's see. Oh yeah, the fingerprints, right. Hearst pulled 7 clear prints off the window frame, ran them against known offenders, but couldn't come up with a match. The upstairs entry, however, provided detectives with another lead. This one pointed to a younger offender. Lieutenant Jim Boderick was assigned to supervise the crime scene. Lieutenant Boderick explained the access to the roof really can only be by a fence, and you just don't find 35-year-old killers climbing fences. Getting up on the roofs, but that's pretty typical for kids. I don't know. The suspect profile was beginning to take shape. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about what I was just saying? I think back then they wouldn't have thought of condoms as readily as they would today, right? Especially now. See, even here's the crazy part. Prior to genetic genealogy, all of these guys, they still didn't care as long as they hadn't been arrested before. So they didn't really care that much because they knew that their DNA wasn't in CODIS. So they didn't, they were like, yeah, whatever. But as soon as genetic genealogy came about, they were just probably all of them. That's what's so great about it, is every single rapist, every single killer psycho that left his semen anywhere around anything, they are all shitting their pants on a daily basis, knowing that their time is coming as soon as those damn tests are tested. And, what they should do is just test all of the rape kits that are out there, no matter what the cost is. And then any duplicates, go after those first so that you get the serial offenders the hell out of there. And then go after all the rest of them. But I think they should put like $5 billion, literally, to whatever the cost is. Just get a number and multiply it, get the number, and just do it. We don't need $5 billion to study snail habitats in eastern Idaho, okay? What we need is $5 billion to get serial offenders and rapists off the planet, really, off the streets and in jail. Okay, but if you had my way, they'd be shipped off to Mars. Well, hell, I don't know, because maybe they'd start a colony. She was described by her friends as very gregarious, very outgoing. She was a beautiful woman to look at. She had dated a number of people in the community. She ran with men kind of classified in the fast track. Detectives investigated the men who knew Susan Dahl, but one by one they were eliminated as possible suspects. Alright, so these are pictured here is Susan Dahl's underwear. A bizarre clue. Detectives Reed then dug a little further and discovered a strange event in Susan Dahl's life, one that happened just days before she was murdered. Just 10 days before the homicide, her home had been burglarized. See, here's what I think. This 16-year-old went in there, got her underwear. This is what I haven't read this yet, but I'm going to get. He went in there, got her underwear, and then he got so jacked up that his next one was there is to go to realize the fantasy that he conjured up after he grabbed those underwear and probably, pleasured himself 1,000 times to those freaking underwear, and then he just says, I'm gonna go over there, and he broke in and he assaulted her and killed her. Right? Yeah, there you go. So let's see what it says. Just 10 days before the homicide, her home had been burglarized. According to the police report, there were 25 pairs of underwear taken in that burglary, all of the victim's underwear. A quick check confirmed more of Dahl's underwear was stolen the night of her murder. The connection is unmistakable. We got that picture. That one looks even more like the other one. The connection is unmistakable. Whoever killed Susan Dahl had been in her home before stealing her underwear and possibly stalking his victim. Yep. Detective Reed said it is not unusual for sexual assaults that we've worked where they'll either dress with that type of underwear or underclothing or take it. So again, you start looking at younger offenders. I think that looks more like him now, right? He's older here than here, but this even looks more. He just doesn't have the mustache in there. Yeah. Okay. As detectives worked the clues left inside the Dahl's house, others worked the neighborhood. Several neighbors recall seeing a boy on BMX bike lurking outside Dahl's house. See, that guy could definitely have been on a BMX bike the night she was robbed. Based on their descriptions, a composite picture was sketched and distributed. Calls flooded the police switchboards, but the tips led to nowhere. Says Lee nowhere. Detective Reed said, we did not get a lot of people calling in saying, I saw a young man on a BMX bike 2 days ago going down the street and so on. Alright. Anyway, it actually says that. Anyway, it was driving us literally crazy in a way because there were leads that we really couldn't follow up on unless we were right on top of it. Because people would say, hey, I see somebody on a BMX bike. Right, yeah, so that's what happens. Everybody's trying to help out. And everybody now on a BMX bike is the killer, right? That's why they don't tell us what kind of car it was at the abandoned CPS building. Because as soon as you said, oh, it's a cream-colored Volkswagen Rabbit. Oh my God, all the sleuths in the Delphi groups will call in 24/7 reporting every single Volkswagen Rabbit in a 1,000-mile radius. And yeah, at that point it's useless. What they want is you to come up and say, you know, I saw a white Volkswagen Rabbit, and I think I know who owns that. Then they'll know they have the right person. It's amazing how many men in Fort Collins, or teenage kids, look like that composite picture. I'd like to see the composite. 4 weeks after Susan Dahl was murdered, the crime was still unsolved and the small town was still in turmoil. Detective Reed added, there was a huge outpouring of fear. The police department was holding neighborhood meetings trying to keep people updated as to, you know, what was going on. There was a high level of awareness in the community of this homicide. With no arrests or possible suspects, all eyes were focused on the Fort Collins police. Lieutenant Broderick said police officers are human, and working on this case was very exasperating. That's him older. Look at all these different looks he has. I forgot that one. What's cool is this image right here. You know, again, if this is him, I think it is exactly the age. This is when he's 16 years old in 1989. If the community of Fort Collins bordered on hysteria, it proved prophetic. In the months following the murder, a series of break-ins began to occur. In all, the thief took nothing of value except for women's underwear. So now he's like a serial, I don't even know what you call that, but he's just doing it over and over again. This detail taunted Detective Reed, who wondered, is this a copycat or the killer marking his next victim? Right, exactly. You go in there, he's going to fantasize, and then he'll finally go in there and act out the fantasy on the person who owned the underwear to begin with. For 3 months, the break-ins continued. Detective Reed said the last one occurred on December 10th, 1989, and I remember that distinctly because that was the kind of the cutoff date when I seemed to lose track of the suspect. Within a year, the few leads generated wither and the investigation went cold, but never in the mind of Detective Reed. Detective Reed added, I always thought that there was good hope that it would be solved. It didn't go cold, but it went lukewarm. 6 years passed after Susan Dahl's body was found raped and strangled at her home. Okay. This is nails it right there. Look at that. I mean, that's him, or maybe that's his brother there. I don't know. One of these two kids here. Which one is it? Oh wait, it is his brother. Here is Doug Thames with brother Keith. All right, so this is him right there, I would imagine, and that's his brother. So I was right. See, that's why they look so damn similar. Pictured is Doug, and then with brother Keith, and then Pat, this guy. But so when you look at that one, you can definitely see, yeah, I think it's this one. I mean, I think this one looks more like that, even though this guy looks very similar as well. I mean, you know, I don't know actually, but look, he's got the BMX bike and everything. Detective Reed revealed when Allen Plumbing, a heating, went over. Oh, let's see. Let me get back up here. Detective Reed ran her data against the potential. Did we read this part here? Oh yeah. 6 years have passed after Susan Dahl's body was found raped and strangled at her home. The crime scene bordered on bizarre. After killing Dahl, the intruder masturbated and defecated throughout the house. I mean, that's some weird shit right there, isn't it? He stole nothing except for the victim's underwear. I wonder why he was defecating. That's a strange one. Maybe he had some other things going on there. Detective Reed worked the case from its inception, armed with fingerprints left at the scene and a DNA profile drawn from the killer's semen. Detective Reed ran her data against potential suspects for 6 years with precious little luck, until one day when a repairman was called to another home across town to inspect a furnace. Detective Reed revealed when Allen Plumbing and Heating went over there and inspected the furnace, they found what they thought to be a wad of panties. I got a phone message, and at the end of the day, and I think it was on July 13th or 1995, that a plumber had found some women's underwear in a furnace. And then she probably went, aha. We went down in the basement, and on the shelf in the basement, there was this ball of charred nylon is what it was. And they put it in the evidence bag and advised me that it probably was evidence in the Susan Dahl murder case. I wonder how they knew that right away. There were 13 pairs of underwear, half destroyed by heat. Detective Reed believed they might have belonged to Susan Dahl and been stolen by her killer. Detective Reed said, "My mind was racing because this was just the stroke of luck that we needed at this point. I couldn't wait to get things analyzed." Jeffrey Svoboda ran the crime lab for the Fort Collins Police Department. On July 14, 1995, he examined the underwear pulled from the furnace with a laser light. Svoboda explained, once we turned on the light source, that area just immediately fluoresced. We're able to see apparent body fluid luminescing on the underwear. We were hoping that when we took samples of it and sent it in for testing, that's crazy. Was he still doing, masturbating on the freaking underwear over the years, or was that from the same moment in time it was still sitting there 6 years later? We were hoping that when we took the samples of it and sent it to the testing, that it would come back to be semen, and in fact it was. A DNA profile was extracted and compared against semen found at the Dahl crime scene. The result was a perfect match. So the semen they found all over the Dahl crime scene and the DNA they found on the underwear was a perfect match. Whoever stuffed underwear into the pipe of a basement furnace less than a mile from the murder scene more than likely killed Susan Dahl. Detective Reed cross-referenced the address where the underwear was found against police records, hoping to come up with a list of suspects. Detective Reed explained, primarily what I was looking for was the dates between August of '89 to January of 1990. What she did come across was a shoplifting report involving 3 boys who claimed that as their residents. Keith Thames, Doug Thames, and their pal, Paul Trujillo. Look at that. They're all right there in that picture. Or Trujillo. I don't know how to pronounce that one. Let's see. Wow, that's... So, let's see. What she did come across was a shoplifting report involving 3 boys who claimed that as their residence. The 2 brothers and their friend were between 15 and 16 years old at the time of Susan Dahl's murder. In 1989, they were inseparable, sharing a common love and another connection to the murder scene. Sharing a common love and connection. In 1989, they were inseparable, sharing a common love and another connection to the murder scene. BMX bikes. So maybe there's more than one kid in there. Detective Reed found the 3 boys, now in their 20s, living in Grand Junction, Colorado. This is 1995, which she's referring to. On July 27, 1995, Detective Reed approached the Thames brother and Paul Trujillo. Detective Reed said, I told them plainly that I was investigating a murder that happened in 1989, and I was just trying to eliminate them as suspects. The boys refused to give a statement, but consented to provide samples for forensic testing. Oh. Detective Reed explained, I got photographs, hair samples, public hair samples, blood sample, and fingerprints.
Chewbacca?
Hey, thanks, Kyra.
I'll be Chewbacca if you want me to.
Great show as always, man. Thanks for what you do.
Hey, appreciate it. Hey, what are you doing, man? Are you back out on the road, or we gotta hook this thing up again? We like the intrepid reporter Cairo out on the road. And by the way, what's your channel name? So people can go watch some of the Chewbacca video. And that was him actually talking in there. Now type in your channel name. Chewbacca? What does that mean, Brittany? Type in a little better sentence than that. Mods, you all have robot messages in chat for a few seconds sometimes? Why? Now we have a bot that comes on. You know, the new mugs. I guess he's probably driving around. Oh, there it is. He just put it in there. So you guys go over and subscribe to that channel there. Let me know when you're all back. I'm looking at the numbers. They dwindle all the way down as people. Now it's 170, 170. I don't know what that means. You know, they delete their own when they request something, like if they say something like PayPal, they don't want to. That doesn't mean anything. It's a message that sets off the bot message, right? All right. Okay, all the way. Wow, you're in Kentucky in a cabin, huh? Jesus. Awesome. All right, here we go. I'm going to get back to this. This is pretty interesting. Detective Reed explained, I got photographs, hair samples, pubic hair samples, blood samples, and fingerprints. She submitted the blood and hair samples, so now it seems like the other kids must have had nothing to do with it at all. But I wonder why one would have agreed. She submitted the blood and hair samples to the Colorado Bureau of Investigation for forensic testing. And then she took the fingerprint cards back to Fort Collins, where crime scene technician Ruth Hurst was waiting. Hurst said, I think the reason why I had to wear glasses eventually is because of her bringing so many people in to have me compare fingerprints on. Over the past 6 years, Hurst had compared over 30,000 prints to those left at the Doll's crime scene. Wow, at Doll's crime scene. All without a match. Fingerprint comparison. On Monday, July 31st, 1995, she picked up the print card of Doug Thames and began the familiar process of counting ridges and whorls. As Ruth Hurst counted 2 floors above Detective Reed waited, Detective Reed revealed, I was on the top floor and I was literally pacing just waiting for her to say something. Finally, about 9 p.m., I called her, and she couldn't talk, and after 30,000 prints that she'd looked at, she couldn't talk, but she did say they had a match. She couldn't talk. Thanks, Brianna. Props. Hearst added, I called Marcia and told her that we had a match, and she thought I was pimping her. I would say punking. And I said, well, no, I'm not pimping you. It's really a match. Detective Reed revealed, I went down to the basement and she was crying. And we hugged one another and we were both patting each other on the back. And that's her right there. Obviously at a trial, probably. Finally, enough evidence for an arrest. After 6 years, tens of thousands of hours of investigation, and more than 30,000 fingerprint samples, Detective Reed found her match and enough probable cause to arrest Doug Thames for murder. On August 3rd, 1995, she traveled back to Grand Junction, but this time she brought her handcuffs. On the morning of August 4th, 1995, Detective Reed found Doug Thames at his roofing job. Detective Reed said, I approached Doug and I immediately put handcuffs on Doug and said, you're under arrest for the murder of Susan Dahl. And I think that was the best day of my life, or at least the best day of my career. Yeah, because for a moment she went, well, I got married and I had kids. I don't want to make them feel bad. So yeah, the best day of my career. Thames was brought to the Mesa County Jail. Detective Reed said we had set up an interview room with videotape. I read Doug his Miranda rights. At first he didn't know if he wanted to talk to me or not. He was asking me some questions about what he had now. Let's see. About what we had now that would be used against him. Doug said I didn't do a murder, but he was obviously very frightened. He says that he wants an attorney, so as a result, all questioning stops at that point. The same day, Detective Reed arrested Thames. She received the results from the DNA testing. The number put Doug Thames in Susan Dahl's home the night she was murdered, a slam dunk for prosecutors. But Detective Reed still had one more hurdle to cross in the courtroom before she closed the case in the form of an inventive alibi. As the trial kicked off, a local news station reported Detective Marcia Reed took the stand today. She is the lead investigator in the Douglas Thames murder trial. Prosecutors say Doug Thames' intent was to steal underwear. They say he had been at Susan Dahl's house once before and stole 25 pairs of her underwear. Prosecutor Mitchell Murray said, in this case, when it was brought in, we had a very strong case. The only thing missing from the very beginning of the investigation was the suspect himself. We had fingerprint evidence, we had DNA evidence, very strong scientific evidence. Doug Thames was 16 at the time of Susan Dahl's murder, and his defense was an alibi. Thames claims he was on a family camping trip to Wyoming. Okay. Yeah. See, isn't that funny? Because now he's got the Wyoming connection in there. On the date Dahl was killed. At trial, listen to this crazy shit. I did read this part. I went and kind of skipped around. At trial, his grandmother produced photo albums with specific dates to prove it. Detective Reed explained, if I recall correctly, we had a lunch hour for the prosecution and myself to look at these photo albums and try to come up with what is this all about? How can we dispel this? As they picked through the albums, the cold case team found evidence that the pictures may have been doctored. Prosecutor Murray revealed, we found things such as only photographs that had an entire date, that being the month, day, and year, were the specific photographs that covered their alibi. Yeah, so all the rest of them didn't have that. Other things that were discovered over the lunch hour, holiday pictures, wherein picture number 1 for Thanksgiving 1989, you have a clean-shaven relative, Uncle Jim, something like that. It's always a Jim, isn't it? Back to you, Jim! Something like that. And then you look 2 photos down, the same holiday, and there's Uncle Jim with a big, bushy mustache. Right. This is pretty cool. On May 6, 1996, the jury found him guilty of murder 1, and sentenced him to life in prison. Detective Reed and Ruth Hurst both retired from law enforcement 2 years after Thames' conviction. They remained friends while maintaining separate ranches with their husbands in the West. For 6 years, these 2 women lived with a memory of a third woman of similar age and background who was raped and murdered in her own home. The 2 women were The 2 women were charged with finding the killer and bringing him to justice. 6 years later, the burden was released. The killer, safe behind bars, and the memory they carried finally laid to rest. Hurst recalls, "Oh, it was just like such a neat feeling, you know." And Detective Reed added, "It made that case the highest point of my career. It really made me feel good to have worked so hard on it and actually had it come to a conclusion that helped put the suspect behind bars. There is drama in it all. There's perhaps some sense of closure, and maybe the idea that this burden can be released from you. But it just confirmed and kind of laid to rest that everything is all right in this world." I don't know about that. Thames found guilty of second murder. Today, Thames sits behind bars at the Buena Vista Correctional Complex in Colorado, where he is serving 2 life sentences. After he was convicted of murdering Susan Dahl, his DNA was matched to a different murder. Thames became the second person convicted in the 1994 murder and sexual assault of J.C. Taylor. That happened after the first man convicted in the case, Robert Dewey, was exonerated in 2012 after spending 18 years in prison. Right. Well, that prosecutor should serve 9, okay, because they knew they didn't have what they needed, and they sold a bill of goods to a jury to get a conviction, and that guy had to serve 18 years. So the prosecutor should serve 9 of that. He was exonerated by the same DNA evidence that was used to convict Thames, who was serving a sentence of life without the possibility of parole. Well, that's it. Isn't that crazy? Let's look at that. Let's look at that one now. Hold on. Let's see if we can find that one on newspapers.com. It's got to be Colorado, right? Yeah, 2000 and that's probably the conviction of it, though. So that's the girl right there. Spring 1994, in Palisade apartment where she lived. Statements by a roommate led authorities to Robert Dewey after Taylor was slain that June. See, what's weird is he must have completely, this is when he was conflicting DNA evidence had prosecutors thinking second suspect involved in the killing. My God, he must have been, you know, the thing is he was probably totally innocent the entire time, and they just, you know, despite his pleas of innocence, They just sort of made a case. I don't know what you're referring to, Amber. Judge happy in sentencing Dewey to life. Mesa County Chief District Judge Buss told Robert Ryder Dewey he was happy to sentence Dewey to life without parole for the 1994 murder of J.C. Taylor. I think this is a just sentence for you. You engaged in a few moments of pleasure with Miss Taylor, and it cost her life. Buss said at the time. Yeah, see, that's totally bullshit, though. God. Here's the initial story. So now what we're going to read here is what the barbarian, what the hell's his name? I don't even remember his name now. Now it's like I've got the other guy's name in my head. Yeah, Thames. Doug Thames. Alright. So let's see. Palisade woman 19 found dead. Police investigate case of slaying. J.C. Taylor of Palisade was found dead in her apartment at 8:25 Saturday morning, and Palisade police officials say her death may become the third homicide in Palisade in just over a year. Palisade Police Chief Greg Kuhn said he's stopping short of calling Taylor's death a homicide until results of an autopsy are available. It was obviously suspicious in nature, so we are handling it like a homicide. The way in which the body was when it was found indicated foul play, Kuhn said. He said there are no suspects at the time. Hey, thanks, Chatty-O! The body of the 19-year-old Taylor was discovered by a neighbor who lived next door to Taylor's apartment. Kuhn said the neighbor had reason... Where was this? Grand Junction. Reason to believe that something was wrong at Taylor's, and when he went to investigate, he found the body.
Love all you do.
Oh, I wonder if it's the neighbor. That is the guy. Right? Oh, shit. That's ridiculous. Now that makes me angry. No, it's Kuhn is his name. I wonder where they got his name. Kuhn said when police and rescue units arrived, they determined Taylor had been dead for several hours. Taylor had a roommate at the apartment, but she has been out of town, Kuhn said. Taylor's death came just 1 year and 12 days after a double homicide in downtown Tavern. In mid-1992... Okay, that's different. Let me go back to here. That was the 5th. Let's see. J.C. Lane Taylor, 855 Illness Court. Raven services will be at 10 a.m. Wednesday in Palisade Municipal Cemetery. Ms. Taylor, a certified nurse's aide, was a resident of Palisade for 7 years. God, you wonder if she had underwear missing prior too, right? Let me go back. So that was June 6th. And then let's see if they, when they start making arrests. Okay, so that was, let's try, so it was why was she in there for June? That's not her. All right, go to 1994, 5. Okay, it's June 2nd, 1995. The case against a man accused of killing 19-year-old J.C. Taylor last July Well, it wasn't July, was it? I thought it was June. Yeah, it was June, not July. Let's try March. Was found strangled in Palisade home. The case is still under investigation. In addition to those cases, okay, so that means it's after this. So it's March 12th. So it's maybe April. Murder suspect had been readied for prison release. Oh, wow. Okay. A Palisade man arrested Thursday on suspicion of killing a 19-year-old girl last year had been scheduled to be released from state prison in Cannon City next week on an unrelated conviction. Robert Dewey II was arrested hours before deputies transported him from Cannon City Prison to Grand Junction. He is accused of sexually assaulting and killing J.C. Taylor on June 4th, 1994. Charges against Dewey will be filed in Mesa County District Court. Dewey had been serving a 1-year sentence for possession of a handgun by a previous offender. Palisade Police Chief C.L. Quarles said investigators had been keeping a close eye on Dewey while they pieced together their case. Yeah, didn't that make you sick? Oh, we kept a close eye, everybody. We pieced it together. We were able to make up some bullshit to sell to a jury because he had nothing to do with it. So that just shows you that that's what the bias in society is. That I am for law enforcement and everything, but when you have a jury up there, the bias is towards prosecution because he's got to be guilty. I mean, why the hell else are we here? I mean, of course he's guilty, right? So all of a sudden, you get this. To me, it's just like the Justin Ross Harris case. You get this prosecutor up there, just free ball, woo, just firing stuff out, and everybody goes, yeah, wow, man, that's right, yeah, that makes sense, wow, and it's all just a load of crap, every bit of it. But they want to believe it, and they're willing to believe it. They probably showed the autopsy pictures, all kinds of stuff, and they were like looking over at him, looking at the monster, and he didn't do a damn thing. It's sick. Look at that. They'd been keeping a close eye on Dewey while they pieced together the case. Hey, Gene, what are you talking about? Do you mind if I'm just trying to cover. What does that mean? Totally unrelated type case. Yeah, his other case, yeah. Right. But they probably thought, look, he's a bad guy. He's from the area. Yeah, we could sell it. The guy's kind of dumb, maybe. We'll just... Yeah. Quarles said the Mesa County Sheriff's Department handled the bulk of the investigation and that the case is still under investigation to determine if other people at the party played a role in the murder. What party? Investigators allege that Dewey sexually assaulted and strangled Taylor during a party at Taylor's apartment in Palisade. So they had a party and everybody left and he stayed around, is that right? Okay, so this was April 15th. Now they're... Well, let's put his name in there. Well, every time her name should show up every time his name shows up. Oh, jeez. Thank you, Anonymous. Murder case on hold to see if conflict of interest exists. The case against a man accused of killing 19-year-old J.C. Taylor in Palisade last July is on hold until a court determines if attorneys have conflict of interest. Okay. Now let's see, that's June, July. Suspect appointed attorney 1 after killing of Palisade. Okay. You mean accused. See, Look at the way that's worded right there. Suspect appointed attorney 1 year after killing of Palisade 19-year-old. What do you mean? You mean he's accused of killing? See that right there, when you're out in the world and you read that, people are like, oh wow, he already did it. Okay, so the trial's just a formality. We're just gonna... Yeah, this makes me angry. I hate shit like that. Public defender is not good enough for accused killer. Alright, so that one said accused killer. Anything later, near April, October? Lab problems don't prevent trial from... Oh wow, what's this? Look at this. Despite conflicting forensic lab results, Robert Dwayne Ryder Dewey II was bound over Wednesday on charges of first-degree murder and sexual assault in the killing of 19-year-old J.C. Taylor. Taylor's half-nude body was found submerged in a filled bathtub on June 4th, 1994, at her Palisade apartment on Innis Court. A neighbor discovered her after noticing water coming into the adjacent apartment. Taylor had been beaten, then strangled with a nylon dog leash, which was found around her neck. And what did he do in the doll case? What was she strangled with? Anybody remember? There was something wrapped around her neck too. You remember that? Let's see. Hey, Elastic Heart, let's just focus in on the case, all right? You guys are just all over the place again. Oh yeah, so it was a phone cord, all right. Taylor had been beaten and strangled with a nylon dog leash, which was found around her neck. There were no signs of forced entry, a sheriff investigator testified. Dewey, 34, an acquaintance who was staying with a friend down the street from Taylor, was arrested in April. At Dewey's preliminary hearing, a local forensic expert said he found blood and other evidence not discovered by the Colorado Bureau of Investigation lab in Montrose. Joe Snyder, director of forensic science consultant in Grand Junction, said he found a semen stain on a blanket that was on the couch and blood on the shirt alleged to have been worn by Dewey, both missed by the CBI lab. Stephen Stogsdill, an investigator with the Mesa County Sheriff's Department, said he saw hair and other evidence on the blanket when he first examined the crime scene, so when CBI test results came back negative, he had the blanket retested by Snyder. I had observed hair, so I wanted to have Mr. Snyder examine it, he said. The semen was found to be Dewey's. Well, it wasn't, though. That's the thing. Retesting of the shirt also showed Taylor's blood on it. In further complication of evidence, several slivers of soap were found inside Taylor's body. One of them, Stogsdill testified, appeared to have fingerprints on it. What? They found slivers of soap inside of her body, and then there was fingerprints on the slivers of soap? Oh, that doesn't make any sense. When it was received at CBI, however, the soap had dried and cracked, and the print was ruined. Snyder testified there was blood. I wonder if that person was trying to destroy the DNA that was inside. Snyder testified that there was blood on and around the first floor living room couch, on the wall, coffee table, blanket, and pizza boxes. Blood also was found along the landing and steps leading upstairs, and also in the bathroom. Assistant Director attorney Martha Kent said she believes Taylor was sexually assaulted and killed on the couch, then her body carried upstairs and placed in the bathtub with the soap and water used to dilute the evidence. Right, there you go. Kent said why would you stick slivers of soap inside of her, like big chunks like that, where it had a fingerprint on it? That's crazy. Kent said the district attorney's office has not decided whether to pursue the death penalty against Dewey. What a joke. You know, and so how did they say the semen matched? What was his sentence? Guilty of sexually assaulting and murdering. During the month-long trial, Dewey wore slacks and sports jacket with his waist-length hair tucked down the shirt collar. You know, the worst part is when they finally find out, you know what, his DNA, we retested it, doesn't match. It takes them years for somebody to go, oh wow, you know, let's take a quick look. Let's look at this. Those should take precedence. If you can find that the DNA that you tested and convicted somebody on doesn't match the person convicted, that should be an absolute rush job, and immediately, like within a month at the most, overturned. Instead, it's like, well, we got to go through the process. It always seems like 4 or 5 years. It sucks. It's an absolute joke. Okay? We need to be better than that. I mean, that absolutely overturns a conviction when you say that, wow, the semen that was found in her wasn't even his. Several jurors who attended the sentencing hearing commented about how different Dewey looked on Thursday. Dewey proclaimed his innocence when Bust asked if he had anything to say before being sentenced. Yeah, he's not going to say, I'm sorry, you know, because he didn't do it. Oh, what a callous killer he is, man. He looked right at him and said he didn't do it. Man, he did it, right? What a joke. There's still a killer out there. Hey, thanks, Tori Wells. For Dave and Jackie Taylor, J.C. Taylor's parents, who convinced parents, the conviction and sentencing ended a chapter in their tragedy, but certainly didn't close the book. Prosecutors and law enforcement officials said they will continue to look for a man
Amen, brother.
They believe also was involved. Okay. You know, the quote, real killer. Because they knew that there was a different sample. They knew it didn't really match. So now they're sort of saying, we'll keep looking now. Now, what about this case right over here? Bandit steals shoes from girl en route to school. A 13-year-old girl was attacked on her way to school Thursday morning by a man who pulled her legs out from under her and stole her shoes. The girl was waiting for her friend at El Jardin Drive in Farrell Court in her 33 and something. She and her friend were going to walk to the bus stop together, and as they often did, suddenly a big man with scraggly, dirty hair rushed up to her, tackled her by the legs, and stole her brown clogs, the girl told Mesa County Sheriff Department. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if this guy killed somebody at some point. Yeah. Hey, thank you, Brianna Props. Everybody put out some prayers for her child, stepchild. Still going through some treatments.
Chewbacca? Oh, I'll be Chewbacca if you want me to.
Yeah, everybody give some positive thoughts for Brianna Props' child. And some treatments. I'm concerned about this incident because it seems so strange. Adding that investigators have no idea what the man's full intentions might have been. Wow. I wonder if there's any other cases of man steals girl shoes, you know? anyways, I'm glad the guy finally got out of there, but I hope they gave him a ridiculous amount of money. You know, I always think it should be something like a minimum of $100,000 a year, but and then give him like double that for their, you know. So he should have walked away with maybe like $4 million, set himself up with a nice house, and not have to work a day in his life again because you screwed him over. And I actually think I know this sounds kind of harsh, but I think prosecutors who wrongfully get somebody convicted should be disbarred and also serve half the time that they gave to that person, because then you'd have a lot less sort of these people that make a case against somebody who had absolutely nothing to do with it. Okay? Because look, here's the reality, everybody. That prosecutor in that case had to not have been that confident about it, because he wasn't even the killer. So if he was that confident, that means he was confident like a whack job. He's just somebody that was like, oh yeah, man, that's just... You were just looking for every little thing to try to put the pieces together and make the case, right? And you sold it, a bill of goods for the jury to get your conviction. I don't even know how these guys sleep at night. I'd be embarrassed the rest of my life for shit like that. Like, if I wasn't absolutely sure based on the evidence, man, I'd have a tough time even going out there and doing a case, you know. Hey, thanks, Tori Wells. Amen. Hey, you can't say amen. You got to say a woman. All right. So you might want to send another one in and say a woman again. Except you can't say woman because men is in the word woman. So you have to say a whoa 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 for the rest of your life. You can never actually finish the sentence. Oh, I'm sure the mom.
I'm in again.
All right, let me let's see, man. Let's see. Like, man steals girl's shoes. Let's make that 1985 to 2010 and get rid of that. Hey, woman. There you go, Tori. Steals shoes. Okay. Don't you want to see if there's more of those? That's kind of a crazy deal. Steals girls' shoes.
Chewbacca? Oh, I'll be Chewbacca if you want me to.
Thanks, sue me. And see, the thing is, I like prosecutors. I'm a big fan of police and everything, but they have to be good people. Okay? There's bad people everywhere. And I think any time that there is a... No, not sue me. It's so me. As in, so mean. Okay. I got it. So me. I screwed up on that last time. Okay. Steal shoes. And this is in Colorado. Let's see if there's more in Colorado. I mean, it's just such a weird thing because you, some of these cases when all these people that were let go off of death row, right? Because they checked their DNA and it exonerated them. Okay, well, what were they doing before DNA, everybody? What they were doing before DNA is they were executing people that were innocent. They just won't ever go back and test those DNA kits on the people when they had semen and the person proclaimed their innocence. They executed him all the way up into the day that they were put into that execution in the electric chair, gas chamber, whatever the hell it was. And they were proclaiming their innocence. They will not go back and test those because they don't want to know the answer to that question. Because if you had 50 people or so that were exonerated off of death row because of DNA checking, man, those 50 people were dead 50 years ago. And that's why I've said I'm for the death penalty only if you get a system where it's very rare and it is 100%. Like there isn't an out for the, you have a DNA match, the skin under her fingernails matched you. You have all these things that all point to it. But man, it just shows you how flimsy some of these cases have been where the death penalty was applied. Okay? So at this point, I'm not for it until they fix all of this stuff. Okay? But in reality, it's like, God, man. If you kill one innocent person, it is a blight on society. It's not like, well, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Okay? No, it's really an awful, horrible thing for a society to execute an innocent person. So until you get past that, I'm just sort of not really into it, I know, that makes me weak, right? I've always been for the death penalty, but we need it in a way that's not, there's no chance. Okay, if there's even the slightest doubt, it should be very hard to give somebody the death penalty. So it has to be at the end. Like the jury votes for guilty, but then there's these factors where maybe they decide, I'm not 100% on that one. And if you're not 100 on every one, you don't get the death penalty. But it has to be like 15 things. Ah, really? Yeah, that's terrible. Trudy. So here's another story on, well, that's the one on the bandit. Does it show up again? Steals girls' shoes. Man, you'd think you would have done it more. How about we get rid of Colorado? Thank you, Chad Bobinger. I saw another one. Polite to steal girls' shoes. What was this one? This guy would steal girls' shoes. A 24-year-old man with a penchant for women's shoes is being held by police on suspicion of larceny. Police said Albert E. Granger admitted knocking Miss Dorothy McKelney, 19, to the sidewalk and making off with one of her shoes because of an irrepressible urge. I think that's exactly what the other guy was doing. I think he is one of those foot fetish people and maybe even a pedophile angle on that. And he knocked over that kid and got at the shoes. I think this is exactly the same. That's what was in my mind. I wanted to see if we could find. But this is 1956. Thanks, Chad Bobinger. Wow, so he knocked the lady out. Authorities said Granger was arrested on December 20th. 7 counts of stealing shoes from women's feet. So he did it more than once. February, same thing. 1907. Look at that, man. You'd think this would be a, like, wouldn't be too many of these. Thanks, Amber Maiden. What do you have, a closet full of shoes? Like every other woman out there?
Gosh, Gray, that was really bigoted of you to say women have a lot of shoes.
Was it really, though? Wait, raise your hand if you're a woman and you have a lot of pairs of shoes.
Chewbacca?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be Chewbacca if you want me to.
Protect us from the shoe
That is a
bandit,
weird
Gray.
one. Look at this one. Look at July 29. This is 1907 here. Here's one. Who stole the dainty Oxford shoes off the pretty feet of Miss Olson? Was it a man or a woman? The police have a theory that the thief is either a moral degenerate or a person who makes a specialty of stealing shoes at a... Man, I guess this is a... All of a sudden it became a thing. Okay, well, you're one of the few people out there. Okay, my wife has like 100 pairs of shoes. All right, there's women out there that have entire closets just for shoes. All right, so you're an abnormality, Elastic Heart. Yeah, women don't steal other people's shoes. All right, what are we doing here? 1919. Yeah, this is like a thing. It's weird, right? Hey, Pink Lady Luck. Let's see. Steals shoes from feet. Among the Germans in the America-occupied area, leather is nearly as great... Okay, so that was kind of like a war-related thing. Now these are girls stealing shoes. That's pretty bizarre, isn't it? Mean man steals girls' shoes. Oh, wait, this is a different one, I think. Mean man steals girls' shoes in cafe, Atlantic City, May 19th, 1926. The shrill cries of a woman in distress echoed along deserted New York Avenue shortly before dawn yesterday, attracting policeman Grace, who found a girl about 16 years old coming from the Vogue cabaret, gowned in an evening dress but without shoes. Although hysterical, she told the policeman her name was Faye Dean, but she also gave him a variety of addresses. A man who gave the name of Harry Henson, 25, and who said he lived in Camden, admitted that he knew the girl. Both were arrested on charges of disorderly conduct and then, I don't know what they're talking, and then released for fight. Let's see. Hennon told recorder Cardioid that someone had stolen the girl's shoes and that she accused him. The girl did not appear. Wow, see, that foot stealer, shoe stealer made, got the guy in trouble even though he didn't really do it. Who knew that was a thing, huh? That people would go around and steal girls' shoes. How about if we type in women's shoes? No, that might be like in a... let's see, women's steals... Oh wait, I gotta see this one. What in the hell? Steals woman's shoes, takes back to victim for pair he can actually wear, for God's sakes. Alright? Probably the most startling and humorous phase of the case against 9 boys, 8 of whom were arraigned Tuesday morning before Justice B.J. Puckett on the charge of shoplifting, was that one of the little... This isn't off of somebody's foot. One of the little purloiners had stolen a pair of women's shoes and, finding that they were valueless to him, had taken them back to the victimized store and exchanged them for footgear that would comfortably encase his own feet. Oh, shit. And even they're dumb, huh? Okay, so maybe this is one. Let's see. A brutal thief assaulted a woman in Merrickville on Friday night and stole her shoes after she had prevented him from taking her handbag. This is Duncan, a something street. Let's see, doorway, Alma Avenue. When the thief appeared from a doorway and seized her bag, Miss Duncan exerted all her strength and clung to the bag. Then her attacker threw her heavily to the ground and pulled off her shoes. Man, what's going on here, everybody? We've got a whole new genre. No, that's what Amber just said. Same exact sentence. Let's see. St. Louis, Harry Lorber and his wife were arrested for holding up Mrs. James Sherman and taking her purse and shoes. That sounds more like they were just good shoes. What's this one? Callous thieves stole the shoes and handbag of a dead woman while her body lay in a Carlton street late tonight. The woman was Mrs. Florence May Miller, 51, of Lygon Street, North Charlton, who was killed when she was knocked down by a motor car. She was without shoes when she was taken to the ambulance that was summoned. Man, what a bunch of sick people out there. Yeah. Well, we might as well get her shoes. She's not going to need them anymore. You know? That was a good time for my my rim shot, like this one. She's not going to need them anymore. Bang! All right. That was like 1932. Wait, what? What's this guy? What was that? Chicago's well-heeled stick-up man strikes again. Hang on to your shoes, lady. The city's strangest, most specialized stick-up man is back. He is the shoe creep, and he has reappeared almost a year to the day since I last wrote about him. This time, his victim was Colette Larry, 22, a Chicago Board of Trade runner. She encountered him as she was walking to a bus stop. As she passed an alley entrance, her leg warmers slipped down and she bent over to tug them back into place. When she straightened up, he was standing there, a short, ugly guy holding a pistol. He was standing right there in broad daylight, pointing a gun at me. Then he said, "Sorry, lady, but this is a stick-up." I said, "What do you want?" He said, "Give me your shoes." I said, "My shoes?" He nodded and said, "Yes, lady, take off your shoes and let me have them." All I could say then was, wow. I mean, a guy points a gun at you and says, he wants your shoes? Wow, she said. Miss Larry kicked off her shoes. Then he stood waiting to see what else he might want. She sat there and waited to see what else he might want. Money, jewelry, sex, the usual thing men with guns demand young ladies. But he was just looking at my shoes, and I started to get the idea that he didn't want anything else, only my shoes. Then he dropped the plastic bag he had in his other hand. There was a pair of women's shoes in that too. So I just turned and took off running, and you know what he said. He said, "Hey, here's another pair of shoes you can put on." Couldn't you imagine that? He robbed me of one pair of shoes, and he wants to see me put on another pair. Wow. Miss Larry ran back home. The sidewalk felt really cold, and told her mother what happened. They called the police, and after persuading them that it wasn't a joke, reported the robbery. It's really strange. It's not like my shoes were expensive. They're all right, but they're 2 years old. You're not going to sell them for much. Some readers might recall that this time last year, I wrote about Marcia White, 29, who was on her way to a bus stop, going to her job. Same thing. Same time of day, same general area, same results. A short, ugly guy stepped out of a gangway, pointed a gun at Miss White, and said, "Give me your shoes, and you won't get hurt." Miss White said, "My shoes? You want my shoes?" And he held up a plastic bag and said, "Don't worry, I've got another pair in here you can put on." Shit. Unlike Miss Larry, Miss White didn't run. She let him hand over a pair of shoes to replace those she had surrendered. "They don't fit," she told him. "They squish my toes." "Don't worry, I have more," he said, handing her a bag of a pair of suede pumps. They were too small to Miss White, is 5'10", has a healthy pair of hoofs. "Why don't you just let me have my own shoes back?" she asked him. But that just made him indignant. You do what I say and wear the ones I gave you." And he turned and ran off. You know, the funny thing is, this guy looks like the same. He looks like the picture in the other one. We're gonna have to go back in a minute and look at the guy in the other case, right? He looks just like that guy. All right, let's not kid around. All right, let's see. One of Miss White's neighbors came along, chased the man, tackled him, and caused him to drop the gun, which the neighbor retrieved, but the shoe creep escaped. Now he has another gun, and he's back in business. But the question is why? Last year, after Miss White was robbed, I asked a psychiatrist if he had any idea why a man would steal a woman's shoes and give her another pair. The psychiatrist said, "Sure, I can explain it. He's a damn weirdo, that's what he is." Yes! There you go. Man, this is such a great story. It's awesome. Oh, man. This time I asked a cop who handled Miss Larry's case, if he had any theories. He said, "Well, he did it last time in December, and he's back this December. Maybe that's how he does his Christmas shopping." That sounds plausible, but it's tricky. That's tricky business. You know what he might be doing is, like the other pair of shoes he knows fits his wife, but they're old. And so, let's see. And then when they don't fit, now he's like, "Oh, crap. I do have this new pair of shoes, but I can give those to somebody else." You know, just kind of keep trading around until, well, I don't know then at that point. He's waiting for somebody that fits his wife's size or something. He doesn't have a wife, for God's sakes. Jesus, never mind. Well, he did it last time in December, and he's back again in December. Maybe that's how he does his Christmas shopping. That sounds plausible, but it's tricky business trying to guess the motives of weirdos. For example, nobody yet understands why the campus Ketchup Creek did what he did, which was to crawl under the table of the Circle Campus Library, pouring condiments into the shoes of young ladies who had kicked them off. Then there was the Leonardo di Toenail, who crawled around California libraries dabbing nail polish on the toes of shoeless women. The best theory about the shoe creep came from Miss White, last year's victim, who said, "This guy is so ugly that maybe he gets his kicks sniffing shoes, and maybe when the shoes are all sniffed out and there's no more sniff in them, he goes out and robs somebody so he has a pair with something new to sniff. If that is true, then I have an idea how we can save the young man from a life of crime. If you are reading this, shoe creep, take my advice. Put away the gun. All that running around the streets robbing ladies of their shoes will just get you in trouble. You don't have to do that to find happiness. Just call or drop me a line with your name and address. It will be kept confidential, and I will send you a big box of unused odor eaters. That was by Mike Royko. what an awesome... That's crazy, man. And remember the other guy, the sketch, man, he looked about like how they described. Maybe he moved on to a different place, you know. Is that another one? Wait, it's not again, is it? Hold on. Just a second. Was it this one? The shoe creep has it again. No, it's the same story. Man, I didn't even... This is like crazy. Who knew that there was this many of these cases like that? Shoe theft pinch with suspect undoing. You know, like... you know, the one that threw the kid down to take her shoes, that's a little bit worried. Well, I don't know. They're all shitty. But anyways, that's going to be it for me, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed the show tonight. It was all over the place, but it seemed like it was pretty orderly. What was that again, Dan? Dan Carr said, that guy is a real heel. Nice. Okay. Oh, man. Man, you could probably do an entire podcast on that topic. You know, every episode's a different case or something. I don't know. I'm not sure if anybody would want to hear about it, but it's funny. That last one was really actually kind of funny the way it was portrayed. So, all right, everybody. Thank you very much. Guess we'll just be back on tomorrow for some more. We'll probably have to look up something else that somebody steals, you know. Yep. No problem, we do. Hey, did any of you guys watch Candace Owens? You guys should check her out. Candace Owens. Right. Man, I didn't even get into prison one time tonight. I was so good.
Gosh, Gray, you didn't make it to prison tonight.
I know, because I was really good.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but yeah, you know, you weren't so mean.
That's right. That's all I'm looking for. I wasn't so mean. Isn't that all that matters, everybody? All right.
So, thank you. Thank you to Rita Schaefer. Michelle Nicholas. Sarita. Jessica Schubach. Jennifer Cochran Fent. Kit Kat. Maria Mazzarone. Mag with a cat eye donation. Jody Williams, Lee D, Zozo, Mary Poppins, the Mary Poppins, Joshua Wall, Rita Schaefer, Summer Casey, Cairo, Brianna Props, Chatty O, Tori Wells, Brianna Props, Tori Wells, So Mean, as in So Mean, Chad Bobinger, and Amber Maiden, as in Iron Maiden. And Lee D on PayPal.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Very kind, very kind. Thank you very much. What do you guys think of tonight's show? Were you guys interested the whole time? I know people bailed on it, but, you know. Yeah, the streamlabs thing worked. Yep. And they don't take as big a percentage either. But. Awesome, Susanna McGillipod. Did you hear the first part though? You're gonna have to go back and watch it because they mentioned a dog trainer, a police dog trainer. So you're gonna have to go back and watch the first story, or one of the first two, I think. But. All right, everybody, thank you very much. Make sure you wash your hands, maintain your social distancing, which seems to be getting smaller and smaller in the guidelines, and wear a mask, if not 2 or 3, which seems to be changing. And, let's just get those damn shots, all right? Now, here's the thing, everybody. Everybody should get the shots. You should get them. But if you don't want to get them, that's fine. Just don't convince another soul not to get it. Okay? That's irresponsible for you to explain to somebody else and try to tell them why they shouldn't get their shot. Okay? Because when you start doing that, and then wouldn't you feel terrible if you did explain? I'm trying to protect you, because if you go out and explain to somebody why they shouldn't get the shot and they got COVID and died or got really sick from it, I think you'd feel bad for the rest of your life, okay? Because the vaccine actually works. Maybe there's 1 in a million people get some side effect that's not good, but it's way better to have the shots, okay? Maybe we're going to need boosters. We just need it to get to a point where it's basically gone, okay? I think we need to try to get rid of the coronavirus, because I don't want a disease that's floating around that has that type of an effect on people on a yearly basis. Like, oh, we got to get a booster. Well, that means somebody's dying for you to know what the new booster is about. It's not like the flu. The flu is way less dangerous. Not even close. No, I wouldn't feel bad at all, Brittany. I would not feel bad at all if I tell somebody to if I'm telling people to get shots and they died from it. And the reason I wouldn't feel bad is because it's the safer thing to do, okay? And it's what we should be doing, all right? So I wouldn't feel bad. I wouldn't be like, oh, it's my fault, okay? I don't feel like that at all. The truth is the vaccine works. It works really well, and if you don't want to take it, that's fine. Just don't try to sell it to somebody else, all right? It works great. I would not feel bad at all if I told somebody to take it. No, I wouldn't feel bad about that, Brittany, because you're doing what you should be doing, okay? Yeah. Nobody's actually died from getting the vaccine, okay? Now, people have died after they got the vaccine, but it wasn't related to the vaccine. It's because people die sometimes. How many people die in the United States every single day? Thousands of people, of just regular things, right? So if you're giving shots to all those people, well, there's a good chance that some of these people are going to be dying pretty close to the time that they got their shots. Oh wow. Do we have to stay on the air then for Richard Watts' birthday or what? My God. We'll just say here we go.
Oh, jeez. Happy birthday, Richard Watts. Happy birthday, Richard Watts. Happy birthday, Richard Watts. Happy birthday to you.
And many more. Hey, that was pretty good, Mary Lou.
Yeah, I was trying to do my Marilyn Monroe version.
Wow, that was, yeah, not too bad there, Mary Lou. Not too bad, you know. So there you go. Watts, yep. Excellent, excellent. Hey, put down the liquor, Brittany. You keep typing in weird shit.
Happy birthday. Maybe you can do one in the middle. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday,
Richard Watts.
happy birthday
to you.
Yeah, that's for damn sure, Brittany. That's for damn sure. That's for damn sure. Wow. I think you should get the vaccine just maybe it'll help out with something that's, you know. Yeah, anyways. I'm just recommending it because I have doctors in the family. They know that it works. They've explained it to me. It works. If you don't want it, that's good for you. But don't complain when you're not allowed to go into different places and so forth, because I think that's going to happen this first year until we sort of get back to normal. We get like herd immunity going, and that it's hard for it to spread because so many people are already protected. Yeah, so that's right. It's a smart thing to do. It's actually the safest thing to do. And if I recommend it and something happened to them off my recommendation, because I'm actually just repeating what the CDC is saying, I wouldn't feel bad. I mean, I'd feel bad like, wow, somebody died, but I wouldn't feel guilty if that's what you're trying to say. Hey, so there's a donation in Richard Watts's honor. So, you know, like I say, at the end of the month, large portion goes to charity. Our goal this month is 3,000. We did 600 already during the month when we were covering. Hell, I can't remember the girl's name that went missing, but I think we did 600 that night to Knickknack. My long-term memory like that sucks. All right. Okay. Well, thanks, Susanna. I appreciate it. But you should go listen to the beginning of the show because there's a part where I think it's is it the son? Yeah, the son of a victim. He worked for the police force and was a dog trainer. Yeah, maybe it was Bianca. Yeah. I think that was it. Wasn't it like Reese or something? What was the last name? Piper. Bianca Piper was her name. A boom for that? Jesus. I think it would be more like... Or...
Hey, Gray, got a question. I got a question, Gray.
Oh my god, are you calling me? What for?
Oh, I got a question. Now, do you think that the bridge guy...
Hey, don't call him bridge guy. Call him killer.
I can call him what I want, Gray. He's been called bridge guy for a long time. We're all calling him bridge guy. Why do I call him? Why can't I just keep calling him that? Gee.
I didn't say you couldn't. I just said, you know, don't call him that. That doesn't mean I'm giving you an order. That's just what I'm saying.
Well, I want to call him bridge guy. Now, do you think that bridge guy could have came from a boat and then walked up the bank?
No, I do not. I do not think that's possible.
Well, why not? There's a river down there.
Well, because it just doesn't make any sense. There's no place to go. Okay, do you understand that? It's too shallow to do stuff like that.
Well, I saw a video where the other guys were down there.
Oh, God.
Oh, God, what? I was just really thinking.
Forget. Oh, shit. Yeah. Oh, you mean you're better than he is, Suzanne? I see what you're saying. He's not quite my competition. You know, but I have slummed down to a couple of his seminars. Nah, I don't like the bridge guy's just too mundane. He's a killer. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, there you go, everybody. I'll put you guys on the music here in a second, but we'll see you guys tomorrow. Like I said, wash your hands, maintain your social distancing, wear a mask, take the vaccine, and as I always say, everybody, until next time, be safe out there. Oops, got on. Maybe it'll start up here in a second. I have not seen one person that is a crime dissector, plug rejector. I'm a certified human lie detector. Gonna get ya, wanna stretch ya. If you try and play me like an old projector, crime sector is my nectar. Professor Gray is gonna give another lecture. Crime collector, freak connector, and I'm always gonna be a pup protector. Fool deflector, interceptor. And I'm meaner than a spectre with a vector on his pector. With all respect, y'all, just remember I've a temple fucking checked ya. I have no agenda, I'm no pretender, and I'll serve it to you straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender. Yeah, so I'll just get right back to work. All right, everybody? Talk to you.
One of the ways that I repeat it. Walking down the street and I had to stop. I got the big number up the top. lost keys on. Almost definitely none of these please on. I'm dreaming of scheming, feeling my mama. You don't have enough, but you feel disgust, wait, that's one thing I hate. Thanks, Lori Grant. Oh, that great now.
Yeah, thanks, Lori Grant. Jeez, Mary Lou, I can see. Okay, thanks.
I'm just trying to help, gee, Greg. Golly gee willikers. Something. Rubber holding me tightly, flows like a harpoon daily and nightly. Will it ever stop, yo? I don't know. Turn off the lights and I'll glow. To the extreme, I rock a mic like a vandal. Light up the stage and rip a chump like a candle. Dance, but the speakers say boom, killing your brain like a poisonous mushroom. Deadly. When I play a dope melody, anything less than the best of the felony. Love it or leave it, better game way, the better hit. Fools that a kid don't play. Said there was a problem, yo, I'll solve it. Check out the hook on my DJ revolves it. He had a little story, sounded well rehearsed. 40's on that run and then he's dying of thirst. The brew was in my hand, he was on my tip. His always right, he asked me for a sip. He said, can I get some? I said, you can get none. He had a chance to run, he pulled a shotgun. Quick on the draw, I thought I'd be dead. He put the gun to my head and this is what he said. When he was MG, I got a license to kill. Hope you know what time it is, it's time to get ill. Now what do we have here? An outlaw is beer. I want to stand, I'll make myself clear. Hey, good night, Dan Carr. Hello? Susanna, she wants a banana. Luana, Susanna, what I want for banana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He told a little story that sounded very first. 40's on the run and then he's dying of thirst. The brew was in my hand and he was on my tip. His horse is always right, up before a sip. He said, can I get some? I said, can I get none? He had a chance to run, he pulled a shotgun. Quick on the draw, I thought I'd be dead. He put a gun to my head and this is what he said. The name is MG, I got a license to kill. Hope you know what time it is, it's time to get ill. Now what do we have here? An outlaw and his beer. I understand, you understand, I'll make myself clear. We rode 6 hours and we hit the spot. The boat was girlish and the girlish was hot. The dude was staring like his nose we are. We took the empty spot next to him at the bar. Yippee-yo, you know this kid? I said, I did what I know he did. Kid said, get ready. This ain't funny. My name's Mike P and I'm about to get money. Pulled out the jammy, aimed it at the sky. Stood up and let 2 fly. He wasted 2 kids that ran for the door. I'm Mike P and I get respect. The cash in the jewelry is what I expect. MJ was with it and he's my ace. So I grabbed a piano player and I punched him in the face. Piano player's out. Music stopped, this boy had 8, and he got dropped. Mikey grabbed the money, MCA grabbed the gold. Grabbed 2 girlies and a beer that's cold. Diddy pop, don't dance, I'ma come alive, yo. Give me what you got, cause I'm guaranteed to make you rock. I said 1, 2, 3, 4, tell me wonder, Mike, what are you waiting for? M-A-S, a T-E-R, a G with a double E. I go by the unforgettable name of the man they call a Master G. Well, my name is known all over the world by all the foxy ladies and the pretty girls. I'm going down in history as the baddest brother there ever could be. So I'm feeling the highs and I'm feeling the lows. Beat starts getting into your toes. You start popping your stingers and stabbing your feet and moving your body while you're sitting and you're sitting. Say, damn, I'm not doing the freak. I said, bam, I ride it out of your seat. Then you throw your hands high in the air. You're rocking to the beat, singing derriere. Rocking to the beat without a care, with a suicide MCs for the affair. Now I'm not as tall as the rest of the gang, but I can. Hello, hello, hello. Not as tall as the rest of the game, but I can rap to the beat just the same. I got a little face and a pair of brown eyes. I'm a little ladies that's hypnotized, singing on and on and on and on. The beat don't stop until the break of dawn. I said on and on and on and on like a hot bitty pop, bitty pop, bitty pop, bitty bitty pop, bitty pop, pop, bitty pop. That's pop, I come alive, yo. Give me what you got, cause I'm guaranteed to make you stop. I said 1, 2, 3, 4. Do 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 do. In an ocean liner, no one can rock the microphone finer. East Coast, South Carolina, Louisville, and I got now Mount Diner. Walk to China, cause I got a show there. I need my passport, cause I gotta go there. Rumor going around about me and the crew, about something we did or supposed to do. You might not have heard it, or maybe you have, but when I first heard it, all of it was slack. Used to get angry and all uptight, but you can say what you want to spell my name right. Cause I've been never guilty, I was rocking the house, but that's not what the rumor was all about. If you ask me then, tell all your friends, and if you don't, wait till you see me again. This way I can hear it from the horse's mouth, right then and there. We can straighten it out. You got a big mouth, big mouth. That's what the rumor was all about. Alright everybody, see you guys later.
Yes, everybody, we'll see you guys tomorrow. And as I always say, be safe out there.
Hello? Hello?
I've already said I was getting off the air, Mary Lou. Jesus.
That's great. I want to say goodnight too. Good night, everybody. You too, John Boy, you sucker.
Did she really have to get that last dig in? My God. Anyways, see you guys tomorrow. Be safe out there.